Chapter 101. On the other side, Qin Guang had already felt his powerful driving skills after training in the world in a cup. He was very proud of himself. So the problem was, although he was driving a Rena that was much better than an Alto, there were no strengthening points in the real world to modify the Rena. Behind him was a Ferrari that only took 3 or 4 seconds to accelerate 100 kilometers. On this unimpeded Dongxin Avenue, even if he was the best racing god in history, it would be a waste. However, he was not in a hurry. After running online rental in Wujing for more than half a year, Qin Guang knew the roads around the city like the back of his hand. If he remembered correctly, about 30 kilometers east of Wujing Film City, there was the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack, known as the Wujing Racing Paradise. Regardless of whether outsiders knew about it or not, at least in the eyes of the local racers in Wujing, the status of the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack was almost equivalent to the Qiuming Mountain Racetrack in Initial D. It was a holy land. It was unknown who was so rich and stupid to build such a meaningless two-way lane. In short, it wound all the way up Fengquan Mountain and then spiraled down. There were many sharp bends. At most, there would be a U-shaped bend every few hundred meters. There were also so many S-shaped bends that it was impossible to count. In the eyes of a pragmatist like Qin Guang, this 20-kilometer-long Fengquan Mountain Racetrack was simply a big toy for some rich people. Of course, on second thought, some people bought a Bugatti Veyron for more than 20 million yuan. In order to find a suitable place for this toy to run, and then find some like-minded people to auction off some money to build a racetrack, it was not so unacceptable. We are just losers, we don't understand how stupid the world is for money. Qin Guang had also been to that place, but of course he was not there to race. It was just that in the middle of the night, he was unlucky enough to drag a passenger who was going to the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack to be a racing girl. At that time he was just passing by, and he was beaten up by a group of crazy people who were racing. After all, the most inferior cars in that place were at the level of BMW Z4. Qin Guang's broken Reno was too eye-catching. What infuriated him the most was that there was a grandson who drove an Audi R8 and circled around him for a whole minute. The pungent smell of burnt tires and the roar of the engine in his ears almost disgusted him to death. After that unpleasant experience, Qin Guang was no longer willing to take people to the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack. But I'm different from the past. Even if I'm driving a little rundown Rena, it can't hide my temperament as the god of racing. On normal roads there was a speed limit. Good citizen Qin Guang didn't want to break the law by speeding, and the car's performance was excellent. It was impossible for him to get rid of Jiang Ye's Ferrari 488. That's right, Qin Guang intended to bring Jiang Ye, this reckless woman, to the Phoenix Spring Mountain. As long as they reached that place, Qin Guang believed that with his godlike driving skills, he would only need 2 corners to make Jiang Ye retreat. As long as he reached that place, Qin Guang believed that with his godly driving skills, he would only need 2 turns to make Jiang Ye retreat. Hey, why did he suddenly make a turn? Seeing him suddenly turn his head and no longer go to downtown Wujing, Jiang Ye exclaimed. Jin Shirihua thought for a moment. Maybe he changed his mind and plans to take us to a small scenic spot nearby. After all, the people in the scenic spot are not so dense, and the possibility of us being recognized is lower. Jiang Ye nodded. Brother Qin Guang is so considerate. About 10 minutes later, the 2 women were even more certain of Qin Guang's plan. He was indeed going to Fengquan Mountain, a famous scenic spot in Wujing. The 2 thought that Qin Guang would stop at the gate of the Fengquan Mountain scenic spot, but they didn't expect him to make another turn and drive around the gate of the scenic spot to go deeper. Jin Shirihua was a little uneasy at this time. After all, their identities were special and they were conspicuous targets. She was going to persuade Jiang Ye to give up and stop forcing Qin Guang, but she received a call from her agent, Zhou Yun. Her original intention was to persuade the 2 of them to go back, but it made Jin Shirihua change her mind. My Miss Jin, please let me save my energy. I know it's my fault. I should have thought of another way to give him the check. Let's not chase him today, okay? Later, I will definitely find a chance to pay him a visit and thank him. Then I will invite him to meet the 2 of you. Come back. I'm following behind with 3 cars of people. Your families already know about this, so how would I dare to let you 2 race? Zhou Yun said. Jin Shirihua secretly laughed. Since Zhou Yun was following behind with 3 cars of people, it didn't matter as long as the sky didn't fall. Don't be fooled by her dignified and generous appearance. Sometimes she had a little temper. Qin Guang moved forward and went straight to the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack. He calculated the time. It was only afternoon, and the active time of that group of non-mainstream punks was at least after 9 o'clock in the evening. There should be no one there now, right? After making up his mind, he passed the last speed camera in front of Fengquan Mountain. Qin Guang stepped hard on the accelerator. No one hit me. I'm going to take off. Qin Guang's sudden acceleration caught Jiang Yeji off guard, and she quickly sped up to keep up. As they got closer to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack, the road gradually became narrower. It changed from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and there were more curves along the way. Qin Guang licked his lips. If he remembered correctly, he would reach the gathering place of those late-night racing gangs in about 4 or 5 minutes. It was a large open-air parking lot. The last time he was humiliated by someone, it was also in that parking lot. This man, no matter how honest he said he was, in fact, he had a heart that pursued speed and passion deep in his heart. However, racing was dangerous and never worth advocating. Without the ability and a suitable track, it was not easy to try it so as to avoid harming others and oneself. Qin Guang was also a model good citizen. Even if he violated the rules when he was online, his heart would ache for a few days. He was even more isolated from racing. Unfortunately, he was in a special situation today. First, there was a shameful pay-to-win player following behind him, who forcefully rode on his face with a Ferrari 488 to humiliate him, a 2-ring 13th Wang. Second, he had just driven the magically modified Alto in the Racing Gods Cup for a long time. His blood was still burning and his heart was ready to move. He couldn't stop. My fighting spirit is so high that it's about to explode. If I don't do something and release some passion, I'm afraid I'll be so excited that I'll spontaneously combust. Chapter 102. The Racing Gods Cup didn't last long. Even the 9 stages added up to less than 2 months. Driving wasn't as boring as playing games in front of the computer. Qin Guang was a pixelated person who didn't feel tired or sleepy. His mind was also sealed by the world in a cup, so he didn't feel tired at all. Especially the last Dakar rally track. The ups and downs on the road, the emergency situation that could happen at any time, and the scene could change in an instant. Needless to say, it was exciting. Every second brought a sense of excitement. Of course, the normal Dakar rally track had a break. Although Qin Guang didn't feel tired, he would feel annoyed after driving for a long time. He could stop the car. Although there was nothing else to do, listening to the 8-bit game accompaniment in the car was a way to pass the time and improve his mood. Once he accepted this setting, it seemed that the accompaniment of the 8-bit game also became pleasant to listen to. Therefore, the Racing Gods Cup this time didn't make Qin Guang nauseous like the hellish Dota training last time. Other than the calluses on his bare feet getting thicker and thicker, and the pain of dying from time to time, it was a rather enjoyable experience. It only allowed him to race to his heart's content and feel extremely comfortable. However, just as his skills reached their peak, he left again. At this time, Qin Guang was full of fighting spirit and longed for more. No matter how he drove the modified Alto in the world in a cup, it couldn't compare to the real thing outside. His adrenaline was out of control. Qin Guang only felt that the old man's axe was thirsty, as if it wanted to drink blood. At this time, Qin Guang was uncharacteristically looking forward to it. He hoped that the unlucky Audi R8 was there. If there really was such a coincidence, he would redeem himself today and show them what a real racing god was. He would make them tremble at the sight of arena car for the rest of their lives. It was because of his abnormal excitement that he had thoughtlessly brought Jin Jiang and Jin Rui to this place. Under normal circumstances, with his personality, he wouldn't do something that would bring trouble to others. He would rather be in trouble himself than really hope that something would happen to Jin Jiang and the others because of him. With a rather complicated mood, Qin Guang finally arrived at the parking lot. As soon as he arrived, his eyes drifted inside and immediately lit up. That's right. There were only a few cars parked sparsely in the empty parking lot, leaning against each other. A few young men and girls were gathered around the cars, chatting about something. It looked quite lively. Among these cars, there was the blue Audi R8 that Qin Guang couldn't forget. That's right. It was this grandson. Even if he was burned to ashes, Qin Guang would still remember. Well, if he was really burnt to ashes, there was no need to remember him? In any case, this was not important. More importantly, the petty and vengeful Master Qin Guang felt that the opportunity for the old man to take revenge had come. Since he was going to race, he might as well take the opportunity to let this grandson have a taste of the dust. As soon as he thought of it, Qin Guang turned the car around and walked across the parking lot leisurely towards the place where the youngsters were gathered. Before Qin Guang could get close, Jiang Yeji's red Ferrari had also arrived. However, she hesitated for a while and didn't continue to follow Qin Guang. There were quite a number of outsiders over there and they looked like rich kids. Jiang Yeji didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. She knew that with her and Jin Shiyue's reputation, If the rich kids saw them outside, it would cause a lot of unnecessary waves. In her eyes, only Qin Guang was on her side. So, she chose to stop and watch from afar, not knowing what Qin Guang was planning. On the other side, the few people also noticed the small broken car of unknown origin. They stood up and watched from afar, not knowing what this daring guy wanted to do. In Wujing City, who didn't know the industry didn't know whose territory this Fengquan mountain belonged to. How did he dare to drive here so boldly? Just take the cars here today for example. If one of the wheels was pulled off, it would be enough to exchange for his whole car. Without a price tag of more than 600,000 yuan, wasn't coming to this place just asking to be humiliated? These young people who liked to race cars and their families were not short of money, would inevitably develop an arrogant temperament. It might not be so easy to show it in front of people of the same status, but in front of a stinky loser who drove a small broken car of 70,000 yuan, the innate sense of superiority in their mentality was highlighted. Moreover, the matter of racing cars, after all, had to be avoided from the common people. Injuring oneself was one thing, but killing a few common people was bound to cause a sensation. So, this group of people from Wujing City gathered together to build this track in Fengquan Mountain. They had always regarded the Longquan Mountain race track as their own private paradise. This was a private paradise that they had painstakingly built. Although the outside was not prohibited from passing, they had never welcomed outsiders to enter. So, the last time Qin Guang unknowingly brought a guest into this place, he was severely humiliated by the guy driving the R8. He said that the guy was arrogant, but in fact this was also a way for them to drive away outsiders. Damn. When this bastard stops, I'll go and smash him. A sharp-haired guy in a punk vest said with gritted teeth. He was the owner of the blue R8. Xiao Zhong, I happen to have a card here. It's the pocket money my father gave me yesterday. 80,000 yuan. It's just enough to buy him Rena. Take it. On the side, another young man flew out a card from his wallet. Xiao Zhong didn't stand on ceremony with him. He took the card and grinned. Look at you. His car is at least 5 or 6 years old and you still give him 80,000 yuan? Why don't you give him a 50% discount? That person spread his hands. Of course you have to make it look imposing when you smash a car. You're not letting us down by bargaining over such a small amount of money. Xiao Zhong chuckled. That's true. Just as these people were chatting, Qin Guang's Rena was getting closer and closer. Xiao Zhong and the rest had a dangerous look on their faces. They were waiting for Qin Guang to stop so that they could swarm him. What was strange was that as the Rena got closer, it didn't seem to slow down at all. Qin Guang had many ideas in his mind. How could he provoke these people into racing with him without getting into a direct confrontation? After all, he was just a commoner, and the people here were all second-generation rich kids. His license plate number was still there. If he really offended them, he might end up in trouble later. If he got out of the car and used words to provoke them, it was hard to guarantee that things wouldn't get out of control. Now that he had hit a few of them accidentally, things would become difficult to resolve. Therefore, the simplest way was to not get out of the car and show them what he was capable of. Don't you guys like racing? Don't you guys think that racing is cool and cool? I'm not going to compete with you in terms of wealth. I'm going to use my driving skills to blind your dog eyes. Let's see how you're going to compete with me in the future. I'll treat it as my repayment for drifting around me with the R8 the other day. Qin Guang's plan was well thought out. He did not directly provoke them, but he showed them his driving skills in front of them. It was not worth it for these people to hold a grudge against him for such a small conflict. He could not rule out the possibility that these crazy racing enthusiasts would worship his godlike driving skills. Who knows, they might even follow his license plate number and come to him to learn from him. Should he start a racing god training class? The tuition fees could not be low, or else it would seem low class. It would at least cost 10,000 yuan a day, right? Just thinking about it made him feel good. So, charge. Don't slow down. I'll show you what it means to have godlike driving skills. Chapter 103. Qin Guang's car was getting closer and closer to little Zhong's group. He stepped heavily on the accelerator with his right foot, exerting more and more strength each time. The engine roared violently, bringing with it a strong sense of oppression. F***ck. What is this bastard trying to do? Little Zhong and the others were dumbfounded. They thought they were already very lawless people, but they had never seen such an unreasonable person. We have no enmity with you. Did you take the wrong medicine or something? Why are you coming straight for us? You're being a little unreasonable. By the time little Zhong and the others realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. It was too late for them to scatter and escape. Qin Guang looked at these people panicking like frightened little sheep. He felt quite sour in his heart. The last time he came here he was like a pitiful little lamb, curled up in the driver's seat of the arena, watching a group of demons and ghosts dance outside. The huge parking lot was filled with the fireworks that these people had thrown on the ground, and the screams that sounded like they were in a horror movie came one after another. The blue Audi R8, on the other hand, was like a prehistoric beast that kept drifting around Qin Guang's car. The thick smoke from the burnt tires was everywhere. At that time, Master Qin Guang only had one thought in his heart. F***ck, a little scratch on the car of these bastards would cost tens of thousands of yuan. How could I stand it? Therefore, no matter how unhappy he was at that time, he could only obediently shrink in the car and wait for the bastards to circle around enough before quickly running away with the anti-fog lights on. He regarded this matter as a great humiliation in his life. Now that the river has turned, it's time for me to show off a little. So what if your car is good? As long as I'm skilled, I can even drive an Alto. They're about to collide. As Qin Guang sped up once more, his tattered car finally arrived before little Zhong and the rest. At this moment, those youths who boasted that they had experienced a grand scene in Phoenix Spring Mountain were completely blinded. Just as Qin Guang was less than 10 meters away from them, he finally slammed on the brakes and turned the steering wheel. At the same time he shifted gears from fifth to first, and then slammed on the accelerator. Hence, under the dumbfounded gaze of little Zhong and the others, the arena made a sharp turn. Then it went around them and drifted to the side, circling around the cars parked behind them. Then he took the opportunity to stick to the back of the outermost car. In the end, Qin Guang's car was stuck in the gap between the outermost car and the cliff at the edge of the open-air parking lot, which was less than 4 meters long. Even the rear of his car and one of the rear wheels were flung out of the cliff. Then Qin Guang smugly stepped on the gas pedal and drove the small broken car out of the parking lot. It was time to escape. Little Zhong and the other youngsters foolishly swung their heads around Qin Guang's car. They were shocked. They had seen drifting with their lives on the line, but they had never seen anyone who dared to do it like this. Brother, you're being too pretentious. You've already flung one of the rear wheels out. Just a little more and the other rear wheel would have flown out too. That was a cliff that was more than 10 meters high. The scene looked thrilling, but in fact, racing god Qin Guang was rather calm, because the entire situation of the car was under his control. I'm not kidding. If I were driving a magically modified Alto, I would be able to fling out 2 rear wheels, let alone one. What? You're saying that my car is rear drive? Don't joke around. I've driven an Alto with only half a car to the end of Dakar. That's definitely a rear drive. Jiang Yage saw that Qin Guang had escaped, so she quickly followed him. As for little Zhong and the others, they recovered from their momentary daze. F***ck your grandpa? This son of AB***'s just slapping our faces. Little Zhong was the first to jump up. The few of them were veterans in Wujing City's underground racing scene, yet they were provoked by a guy driving a broken Rena car. How could they feel good about it? Someone else saw through it. Little Zhong, look at the distance between Erliu's M3 and the cliff in the parking lot. That son of AB***'s car is more than 4 meters long. He's drifting diagonally over it. And there's no contact at all in front. The front of the car is only 2 fingers away from the M3. F***ck, this skill is amazing. Little Zhong's eyelids twitched as he looked at the tire scratches on the ground, especially the black mark on the right rear wheel that had been flung out of the cliff. It was even more shocking. The word flashed across everyone's mind. Expert. Little Zhong reacted quickly. F***ck, whether he's an expert or a professional, we can't tolerate him coming to Phoenix Spring Mountain to trample on our faces. Just, we have to at least see what he looks like. Otherwise I'll have a mental block. Little Zhong was the first to rush back to his blue R8, slamming the accelerator and charging out. Further ahead, Qin Guang was not in a hurry to speed up. He saw Jiang Yage behind him and knew that it wouldn't be long before the vengeful blue R8 would find him. Before that, Qin Guang planned to find a suitable opportunity to tell Jiang Yage to give up. Sure enough, it didn't even take a minute for the Audi R8 to turn around and appear not far behind Qin Guang. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. He estimated that it was time and began to speed up again. What? Someone said that he didn't wait to keep pace with the others before speeding up. That's not fair. Stop joking, you're driving a sports car while I'm driving an A-class compact. That's the biggest F***king injustice. As Qin Guang really accelerated, Jiang Yage, who was behind him, was the first to be unable to bear it. Especially when Qin Guang drove through the first sharp corner, not only did he not slow down, but he also slammed the accelerator, desperately speeding up, which made Jiang Yage even more dumbfounded. What is he doing? This corner is so sharp. How can he drive like that? Does he want to die? When she really came to this corner, Jiang Yage was so nervous that she slammed on the brakes to control the car. She was so anxious that she screamed. She was not worried about herself, but worried about Qin Guang. On the other side, little Zhong and the others followed closely. Although Jiang Yage's car looked a little unfamiliar, it was still a valuable Ferrari 488. Little Zhong and the others just thought that it was a child from a wealthy family in Wuxia City who wanted to stroll around and see the world. If it was another time, little Zhong and the others would definitely receive the newcomers well, but today's situation was special, so they just shouted when they passed by, which was considered a greeting. Before Jiang Yage could react, she was overtaken by little Zhong and the other real racers one after another. She took the kind shouts of little Zhong and the others as a provocation. These guys look down on me. She was so angry that she wanted to play with her life. Jin Shirihue stopped her in time. Yage, calm down. Qin Guang is going to race with others. If we join in, we will only cause trouble for him. With Jiang Yage's driving skills, it was already a big mistake to drive into the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. If she was allowed to race with Qin Guang like this, she was afraid that she would really overturn the car. This time it was really a headache. Chapter 104. Jiang Yage nodded helplessly. I always feel that this guy deliberately drove the car on this road just to not let me follow. I'm so angry. Am I that scary? Don't tell me I'm going to eat him? Jin Shirihue secretly rolled her eyes. From the first moment you saw someone, you opened your mouth and said my dear Solomon, and the next thing you said was my brother Qin Guang. If this isn't eating people, then what is it? Just drive slower and follow them to see the situation. I'm really afraid that something will happen. In the end, Jin Shirihue didn't back down and said so. In fact, even if Jiang Yage was asked to turn around and leave, she wouldn't agree right now. Although this road was very thrilling and exciting, it wasn't really that dangerous if they drove slowly. It was just that the crazy roar of the engine could be heard from time to time in front of them, echoing repeatedly in the mountains and forests of Fengquan Mountain like muffled thunder. It was really embarrassing. Jin Shirihue and Jiang Yage were worried that something big would happen in front of them. At this time, Qin Guang didn't need anyone to worry for him. He was so happy that he was about to ascend to heaven. The small second-hand Rena really gave him the feeling of driving a Koenigsegg. He swayed left and right along the mountain road and he couldn't make a good turn. No matter how sharp the turn was, he didn't have the thought of stopping at all in his mind. Qin Guang only wanted to use 2 words to express his feelings at this time. Sorry, my foot is stuck to the accelerator. Sorry, I'll die if I don't drift. Although his small broken car and Xiao Zhong's modified Blue R8 weren't on the same level in terms of performance, it couldn't stop him from doing it. Even if Xiao Zhong played with his life, he didn't dare to not brake at all when passing an S-shaped sharp turn. Although every time they encountered a straight road, Xiao Zhong and the others could quickly close the distance between the two sides by relying on the performance of the car, this was the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Most of the time there were sharp turns and there weren't many straight roads. Such road conditions provided the greatest convenience for Qin Guang, the new racing god, and suppressed the impact of the performance gap between the two cars to the extreme. It was a full 20 kilometers of track, and every turn left a pitch-black tire mark left by Qin Guang drifting across. The distance between him and Xiao Zhong and the others had never really been shortened. When he finally rushed down the mountain from the other side, Xiao Zhong and the others were at least more than a kilometer behind him, not to mention Jiang Yage, who was driving a Ferrari 488. It was estimated that she was still crying on the mountain at this time. Qin Guang was extremely smug. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Little thief. Today I'll let you have a taste of what it's like to not even be able to eat my dust. It can be considered as paying back the shame of drifting. I want to let you know that there is always someone better than you out there. After all, Qin Guang was still a good person. After leaving the Fengquan Mountain racetrack, he didn't really walk away without a conscience. Instead he called Jin Shirihue back. Shirihue, you should let Solomon save her energy. She really can't catch up with me. Although the sports car you drive is very powerful, your brother's driving skills are earth-shattering. It's really not something you and other women can look up to. It's really inconvenient for me to take you to play in Wuxia City. You two are too conspicuous. By the way, this road is a real racetrack. There are many sharp corners. You have a steady temperament. You have to keep an eye on Solomon. Don't let her speed up randomly. You must pay attention to safety. Although I really want to get rid of you two today, if something really happens to you because of this, my conscience won't be at ease. Qin Guang said honestly. Jin Shirue's heart was filled with sweetness. Even though he was just being polite, it somehow sounded so pleasing to her ears. She nodded and said, "I'll listen to you. I'll hold on to her. We're not even going at 40 kilometers per hour right now, don't worry." Regarding Qin Guang's driving skills, Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui had thoroughly seen it. They were completely sure that in addition to being good at swimming, their savior's driving skills were really not just for show. As a half-experienced driver, Jiang Yage was even more shocked. It must be known that she also had a younger brother who liked to race blindly. She had also sat in her brother's car. Her younger brother, who was known as the king of cars in Yanjing, didn't even have the qualifications to carry Qin Guang's shoes. It was a pity that in the end they couldn't sit down and have a good chat with him. Jin Jiang and Jin Shirui felt very regretful. On the other side, when he heard that their car speed was less than 40 kilometers per hour, Qin Guang was also relieved. He planned to hang up the phone after a few more polite greetings. Well, that's it for the time being. When there is a chance in the future, let's find a place where it's not easy to run into each other and have a good chat. Of course, his words couldn't be more pure politeness. Jin Shirui also understood. She sighed again. Alas, it's really a pity. In fact, I have been thinking about what to give you to express my gratitude. You are the savior of me and Yage. It's a bit tacky to give you money. So yesterday, I finally asked a friend to send a Patek Philippe men's watch. I wanted to find a suitable opportunity to give it to you when we had coffee today to express our gratitude. But, alas. You are so polite. Please don't give me any watch. I am used to using my mobile phone to check the time. I have never had the habit of wearing a watch since I was a child. It's really uncomfortable to wear that thing on my wrist. It's very good to be friends with the two of you. I'm very satisfied. Please don't give me any watch. Otherwise, I will be angry with you. Qin Guang was not interested in the watch that Jin Shirui mentioned at all. It's just a watch. How much can it be worth? If you really want to thank me, give me money. If I take your watch, how can I have the face to rub my fingers in front of you and give you hints? But in the end, he couldn't say such tacky words. People want face and trees want bark. Master Qin Guang has to have some face. Jiang Yage's voice came from the other side of the phone. She shouted while driving, "Sister Shirui, you are too much. You actually bought a watch for Qin Guang Gige behind my back." Qin Guang couldn't be bothered to listen to the two of them arguing. He only said that he was still driving and hung up the phone. On the other side, Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui knew that they couldn't catch up with Qin Guang, so they simply parked the car on the side of the road. The Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack was too painful to drive. It was better to wait for Zhou Yun to bring people to rescue them. Seeing that the watch couldn't be given out, Jin Shirui was a generous person after all. She always felt that it didn't feel good to be in debt. She said, "The check hasn't been given out today and the watch hasn't been given out. We might as well ask Director Deng for Qin Guang's account number and directly transfer the money to him." Jiang Yage shook her head like a rattled drum. "I don't agree. Absolutely not. If we give him money like this, what reason can we use to find him in the future? A person's life is still very long. Shirui, why are you always in such a hurry to return his money?" Jin Shirui rolled her eyes at Jiang Yage but didn't say anything. She wasn't as blind as Jiang Yage. In fact, she could see that although Qin Guang pretended to be a man, he really needed money. Giving him money was said to return a favor, but it was more like sending charcoal in a snowstorm. Chapter 105. On the other hand, after hanging up on Jin Shirui's call, Qin Guang whistled as he drove back to school. He muttered to himself, "That's weird. Why do I feel like something's not right?" After another 10 seconds he vaguely realized something. Oh yeah, what brand was the watch that Jin Shirui mentioned? I didn't even hear her clearly before I rejected her. It seemed a little sloppy? Wait a minute. Let the old man calm down and recall carefully. If I'm not wrong, it seems to be Patek Philippe? This brand sounds familiar, as if I've seen it before. It sounds very high-end and classy. It doesn't seem to be cheap, right? Something's not right. Something's really not right. With the old man's limited knowledge of luxury goods, he could probably remember that this brand of watch was expensive. Most likely it really couldn't be cheap. Now I have to take a look. Thus, he decided to park his car by the roadside and use his phone to open up Jingxi Shopping Mall to see how much the watch was worth. A minute later, Qin Guang slapped himself hard in the face. I bought a watch last year. What the F***ck? I'm really a pig. In Jingxi Shopping Mall, the cheapest Patek Philippe men's watch cost 130,000. Would a national idol like Jin Shirui get someone to send her the cheapest model? Of course not. It's going to cost 590,000. What kind of F***ck is this? That much money is enough for me to buy a small apartment in Wujing City and live in it for the rest of my life. It's also enough for my mom's kidney transplant surgery. If I get this watch and sell it, even if it's at a 20% discount, it's at least 400,000 in cash. At that time, my ears were so deaf that I didn't even hear what she said and rejected her immediately. I didn't even understand the brand and told her, "Please don't give me any watches or I'll get angry with you." How stupid do I have to be to say something like that? I must have been a pig in my previous life, right? Sis, can I go back on my words now? At that moment, Qin Guang's heart felt like it was being trampled by 10,000 kodos. His heart was filled with bloody wounds. He held onto the car window with one hand and pinched his forehead with the other, sighing. The past cannot be recalled, life is full of tears. Don't talk to me, I want some peace. Don't ask me who peace is, it's not important. I should have King known that a celebrity like Jin Shirue wouldn't be like their manager. Zhou Yun could write a check, but Jin Shirue couldn't. This was because it would lower their statuses. At the same time, she had indeed saved her life. She decided to give me a gift to express her gratitude. Jiang Yage might be deliberately making trouble, but Jin Shirue's temperament was steady. It was impossible for her not to have considered it. Instead, she was really prepared for it, but she never said it. Then, with her status, it would be impossible for her to give a gift to her savior. It would definitely be worth a lot more than the check Zhou Yun gave her. Instead, it was a Patek Philippe men's watch that was worth a few $100,000. It was reasonable. It was already in my hands, but Qin Guang didn't want to look in the mirror. He felt that his intestines were definitely green. He just didn't know if the toxins had spread to his face. He guessed that the old man was about to transform into a green-faced fanged beast. If there is a next life, I will definitely be a sincere and frank person. I will definitely not play those hypocritical and fake pleasantries. I also need a set of imported hearing aids. This moment of carelessness had resulted in heavy losses. Forget it, now that things have come to this, even if I have to strangle myself to death, I can only admit defeat. Qin Guang put down the handbrake and prepared to slip away. At this moment, his cell phone rang again. He turned his head and saw that it was another unknown number. Who is it? I still have a bunch of rich second-generation heirs chasing after me. Why are they calling me all the time? He subconsciously wanted to hang up the phone, but in a moment of inspiration, his right eyelid twitched wildly. In the end, he changed his mind and answered the call. It was actually Jiang Yage's voice. Is this Jiang Yage's number? Brother Qin Guang, I'm standing on the edge of the cliff of the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Jiang Yage's words were shocking. The first sentence made Qin Guang break out in a cold sweat. What is this crazy woman trying to do? Is she going to threaten me with jumping off the cliff because she can't catch me? How big is the hole in your brain? Or could it be that after the old man became the controller of the Holy Grail, the hidden attribute of charm was quietly adjusted to the maximum? What are you doing? Don't mess around. Under the shock, Qin Guang spoke with a trembling voice. Jiang Yage covered her mouth and laughed. She was finally smart for once and roughly guessed Qin Guang's thoughts. She almost wanted to go along with his train of thought, but after thinking about it, she gave up. If she really did that, she could force him back this time, but her image in his mind would definitely fall to the bottom and be irreparable. What are you thinking about? I'm not that stupid. What I want to tell you is another thing. Something is going to jump off the cliff, but it's not me. It's the Patek Philippe that Sister Shirue originally intended to give you. Jiang Yage's words carried a hint of pride. This was the right she had snatched after winning against Jin Shirue. This watch was bought by Sister Shirue, but you didn't give it away, so it belongs to me. I'll give it away. Giving the watch was a small matter. For Jiang Yage, the greater benefit was to use this watch to establish a relationship between them and Qin Guang that they must meet again. Even if he ran away today, it was no problem. As long as he came back to get this watch sooner or later, they would definitely meet again. Jiang Yage was really afraid that Jin Shirue or Zhou Yun had transferred the money to Qin Guang. Qin Guang didn't understand what Jiang Yage wanted to express. She specially called to tell me that a watch was going to jump off the cliff? Wait. She seemed to have a hidden meaning in her words. Sure enough, Jiang Yage continued, I'll tell you the truth. This watch was originally specially bought for you. Now that you don't want it, it has no value. I dare to throw it off the cliff. You also know my and Sister Shirue's reputation. We are big shots in the country. Although hundreds of thousands is not a small amount, I am really willing to throw it away. Brother Qin Guang, give me a definite answer. This watch, do you want it or not? If you say no, I'll throw it away immediately. After Jiang Yage finished speaking, she was so nervous that she held her breath. She was really afraid that Qin Guang would refuse again. But she didn't expect that Qin Guang on the other side of the phone was so happy that he went crazy. Oh my Guanyin Bodhisattva. The Guanyin Bodhisattva who saves people from suffering. Qin Guang was instantly in tears. For the first time he felt that Jiang Yage could be so considerate. She actually threatened to throw it away to force me to accept this watch? You gave me such a good gold-plated staircase. If I don't go down the slope, I'll take out a flame burst and blast myself to death. Chapter 106. Qin Guang forcefully suppressed his excitement and said in a reluctant tone, Don't throw it away. What a waste. There are so many children on the African continent who don't even have enough to eat. How can you face your conscience by throwing away hundreds of thousands? Don't do this in the future. Jiang Yage was embarrassed by Qin Guang's words. She pouted and said, I'm not a wasteful person. Isn't this all because of you? Then when are you coming to get this watch? Today? Qin Guang continued to suppress his emotions. I'm afraid I can't do it today. The cars of those guys are still behind. I'll leave it with you first. Don't worry, I'll definitely come back later to get it. Don't send it to me by express delivery. I'll feel uneasy. Jiang Yage rolled her eyes and thought to herself, Do I need you to tell me that? All right then, it's a deal. As soon as the phone was hung up, Qin Guang jumped up from the driver's seat in excitement. His head hit the roof of the car, causing him pain. He couldn't help but be excited. This amount of money might be a drop in the bucket for Jean and Jiang, but for Qin Guang, it meant that even if his mother really had to undergo surgery, his father wouldn't have to sell the property. It was quite sad to think about it. A little bit of money from the fingers of the rich people on the left and right hands of the national idol could save the fate of a family like the Qin family. However, Qin Guang wouldn't belittle himself or be jealous of anything. He looked at the Holy Grail Hello Kitty that was thrown on the passenger seat, and a confident and devilish smile appeared on his face. After all, I'm a person with a magical artifact. Don't worry, I'll slowly get what I need. Alright, I once told Jean Shirue that I don't have the habit of wearing a watch. Friends, people change, okay? Especially when I know that you might give me a watch that's worth hundreds of thousands. Not to mention one watch, even if you asked me to wear 3 watches on one hand, I wouldn't object. Damn it, the world of the rich is too scary. If you make a mistake, you will lose a lot. It's really tiring to be friends with you. He stepped on the accelerator and the arena started moving again. Qin Guang was in a good mood as he prepared to leave. My day has been so F***ing exciting. It's been full of ups and downs. The feeling of losing and regaining hundreds of thousands of dollars was simply too thrilling. The old man almost had a heart attack. Doctor, I want a caddy of tranquility pills. At that moment, the roar of engines finally came from the exit of the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Qin Guang had been delayed by the roadside for so long, and these people had caught up. Grenade-throwing Lou. I've been on the phone for too long and forgot about this. Dodge. I couldn't take the asphalt road anymore. With the driving skills of the Blue R8's group, it would only take a few minutes for them to catch up to me. Qin Guang sped up without hesitation, turned the steering wheel, and turned onto the dirt road on the side. He was also familiar with this road. He knew that if he kept going on this dirt road, he would reach the main road that led directly to the outskirts of Wenxing town. Seeing that he was about to run, Xiao Zhong and the others couldn't let him get away with it. They were all hot-headed and followed him down the main road. As a result, they saw a strange scene. On the country road, a silver Hyundai was in the lead, followed by a series of luxury sedans such as blue Audi R8, white BMW M3 and so on. After all, the difference in the performance of the cars was too big. Although the dirt road was bumpy, there were no sharp turns and Qin Guang couldn't drift. The distance between him and the cars behind him kept closing. *CK. This can't go on. It looks like I'm really going to be caught up. Qin Guang was a little anxious. It was all because of Jin Zhang's call that he was delayed and distracted. Otherwise, he would have disappeared a long time ago. The Audi R8's group didn't even know where he went. What a miscalculation. The old man still wasn't calm enough. He needed more training. Just as he was thinking about that, a loud noise came from behind him. Something happened. Qin Guang was a good person after all. When he heard that scary noise, he thought that something big had happened. Without thinking too much, he slammed on the brakes and turned around to see what was going on. He opened his eyes and saw that something had indeed happened. There were fish ponds on both sides of the road that he had just passed. Qin Guang's Rena had a normal chassis, so he drove straight on the bumpy dirt road. However, the cars chasing after him were all real sports cars. Even if he adjusted the chassis to the highest, it would still be difficult to handle. Especially Xiao Zhong, who was driving the Audi R8, had to turn left and right in order to avoid the obvious pits in the chassis. However, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to catch up with Chen Guang, so he didn't want to slow down. This time something happened. When he slammed the plate, the front wheel hit a rock and the car fell into the fish pond. When Chen Guang stopped the car and turned around, Xiao Zhong's car was already in the water, with only the rear of the car exposed. Chen Guang took out a baton from the toolbox in the front passenger seat, opened the door and ran back. On the other side, Xiao Zhong's friends had already stopped the car and opened the door. They stood by the side of the road, screaming in fear. They were all scared out of their wits and no one had any idea what to do. When someone saw Chen Guang coming over, he clamored and came over. F***CK. You bastard, how dare you come over? Do you want to die? Beat him up. Chen Guang slapped the idiot's face with the back of his hand. F***CK off. F***CK. Your friends are going to die. You still have the mood to dawdle with me? F***CK off. Chen Guang's sudden slap stunned the man, but he was woken up by Chen Guang's scolding. The situation was dire, and it was not the time to be entangled with the other party. Everyone turned their heads to look at the fish pond. Alright, at this time the R8's rear was nowhere to be seen. What should they do? What the F***CK should they do? Xiao Zhong's friends had completely turned into headless flies. Suddenly there was a loud splash from the other side. These people turned their heads, only to find that the guy who got out of the silver Hyundai had taken off his coat and plunged into the water. With Chen Guang's swimming ability, he easily swam to the spot where the Audi R8 had sunk. He slowed down a little on the surface of the water, raised his head, and roared at the people on the shore who had lost their wits. Are all of you pigs? Where did all your food go? Call the police if you need to. Find a rope if you need to. Can't you do anything? Do you have a flashlight? A waterproof flashlight? Everyone shook their heads. F***CK. Then hurry up and do your own thing. I'm going down to save them. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Guang plunged into the water. Brother, life and death are decreed by fate. I just wanted your car to be stranded on this small dirt road, but I didn't want you to become a water ghost. The water quality of the fish pond was obviously not good, and visibility was extremely low. It was basically impossible to see anything below 1 or 2 meters underwater. Chen Guang paddled with his head down, and the water current caused by the R8 sinking interfered with his movement. After a lot of effort, he finally found the side of the R8 that was flipped over and sunk into the water. F***CK, the car's glass might have been deformed and there were cracks in it. If I'm not mistaken, the car is flooded. This guy is really unlucky. Chapter 107. After feeling around the car for a while, Chen Guang roughly found the window of the driver's seat. He pressed his hand on it and sure enough, there was a banging sound coming from inside. The guy in the car was trying to save himself. Unfortunately, this place was already more than 5 meters underwater, and the light was really dim. Even if Chen Guang put his face close to the car window, he couldn't see the situation inside at all. Chen Guang also tried to knock on the car window. The person inside suddenly became excited, and the frequency of knocking on the window increased significantly. Even the door handle began to vibrate. He was trying to open the door directly again. Under normal circumstances, if the driver and the car sank underwater together, the door should not be opened directly, because the strong current that suddenly rushed in the moment the door was opened could cause a huge impact on the human body, causing the people inside the car to directly faint and drown underwater. However, now that Chen Guang was outside the car, if he could directly open the door, it would not matter even if the person inside was flooded and fainted. Unfortunately, the guy seemed to have locked the door from the inside. Now that the car was flooded, the circuit system was damaged, and the difference in air pressure inside and outside the car formed water pressure. The door could not be opened. The person inside tried for a long time and found that it was useless. Chen Guang fumbled to the other side, grabbed the door handle with one hand, and with the baton in his right, he heavily hammered forward. Cracks appeared on the glass, but this was not enough. Chen Guang took the baton and hammered at the 4 corners of the car window. About 10 seconds later, the part of the car window that he was hammering had gradually deformed. There were dense spider webs all over, and the water also flowed in through the gap between the glass and the door frame. Chen Guang had a headache. This could not go on. He could not make the whole glass fall off and the person inside could not get out. How did this sports car's glass become so solid? The German friend really got what he paid for. He was too damn generous. At this time, Chen Guang's best option was to use his feet to kick. However, he was floating in the water and there was no place for him to use as support. If he really kicked like this, he did not know where he would be pushed to. Time was running out, and Qin Guang estimated that the car was about to be flooded. Qin Guang made up his mind. His left hand gripped the door handle tightly to stabilize his body, and his right hand held the baton as he pushed forward. However, it was inconvenient for him to exert his strength in this position. After 2 or 3 attempts, he was still unable to completely shake off the glass. Damn it, I'm going all out. Qin Guang stuffed the baton into his crotch, clenched his right hand into a fist and punched fiercely. Needless to say, after changing his posture, the force exerted became smoother. Dong, dong, dong. With 3 consecutive heavy punches, the power of the Enroyal's second officer was not just for show. Qin Guang's fist was covered in blood and lacerations from the broken glass. However, he had finally knocked down the damn German glass. Lifting the glass, a young man immediately rushed over to the seat. Grabbing onto Su Tao's clothes, Qin Guang pulled Su Tao out of the vehicle and twisted his body before he kicked the R8 and floated towards the surface of the water. Qin Guang was also thankful in his heart. He had seen the people on the R8 from the rearview mirror earlier. He knew that there was only one young man inside and there was no one else. He only needed to save one. That brat, Xiao Zhong, managed to escape from death and tightly clung onto Qin Guang. Although he knew how to swim, he felt dizzy at this moment with his heart throbbing like a drum. He wasn't injured, but he couldn't feel any strength in his body. When Qin Guang brought him to the surface of the water and saw that Xiao Zhong was safe and sound, the restless friends on the side of the road suddenly screamed in excitement. Qin Guang twisted his body uncomfortably. He felt slightly awkward. The old man was used to being the underwear Superman again. In this situation, if it was a cute girl hanging on me, I would definitely be very happy. But this was AF * King guy. Are you guys done? If you are, come and pick him up. Qin Guang pushed Xiao Zhong to the shore. He spent a lot of effort to pull this grandson's hand away from his neck. You better control yourself. It's not like he's injured at all. Is there a need to be so scared? Keep your distance. Keep your distance. I'm not gay. If you keep acting like this, I will bury you in the water again. Damn it, let go. Finally, he let go of Xiao Zhong. Qin Guang touched his crotch. Damn, the powerful stick that could be long or short fell into the water. His heart ached. In this group, other than the young men, there were 3 to 5 girls. He didn't know if they were kept or if they were the daughters of the second generation. Most importantly, Qin Guang was still only wearing a pair of briefs, and it was the one with the hole in it that he wore in Painting Lake last time. Qin Guang didn't intend to go ashore in the same direction as these people. Instead, he swung his bloody right hand and swam forward. When he went into the water, he threw his clothes further away to keep his distance from these people. That girl who took a picture of my butt with her phone, do you believe that I will spit salt soda to death? After swimming for a while, Qin Guang turned around and glared fiercely at a girl who was taking a picture of him with her phone. Do you have a conscience? I worked so hard to save your friend's life, and you actually want to take a picture of me in my underwear and post it on Weibo. You make me feel like a prisoner on death row yelling at the executioner before going to the execution ground. Wait a minute, can I take a selfie and post it on Weibo first? Qin Guang's words made the girl turn her face away shyly. How embarrassing. He went ashore alone. While the group was busy cleaning up the drenched young man, they didn't notice him. Qin Guang grabbed his clothes and shoes. Wearing only his briefs, he ran towards the Rena car barefooted. When he felt that it was enough, he stopped to clean himself up. There was no way to dry his underwear. He could only wipe it on his body with his t-shirt and put on his pants. The wound on his right hand was still bleeding. Qin Guang sat on the ground, gritting his teeth to check if there were any glass shards inside. Then he wrapped his right hand with his t-shirt. He planned to leave. He did save them, but he wasn't sure if this group of idiots would bite the hand that fed them and push the blame for their failure onto him. After all, they did overturn their car because they were chasing him. The Audi R8 went into the water like this. It would cost at least 300,000 to 400,000 yuan. I can't afford it. Right at this moment, a person walked out from the crowd and walked towards Qin Guang. His steps were a little unsteady, and there were others that wanted to support him. However, they were all rejected by him. This person was Xiao Zhong, who had been saved by Qin Guang from the water earlier. Chapter 108. He didn't expect the kid to recover so quickly. Qin Guang frowned. Well, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Let's see what he has to say. You want me to pay for it? No way. I don't have money. I want my life. I'll let you have a taste of my fist. If it didn't happen, I would have just played around. Since something had happened, I'll have to face the consequences. I can't be a coward. To be honest, he only wanted to race a little. He didn't expect things to get so serious that the car and people would end up in the water. But you were the one who drove it in. I didn't ask you to chase me. It was you who didn't know your limits. You were courting death. The old man saved your life. He's a saint. You have to give me a plaque later. Little Zhong looked at Qin Guang, who was standing next to the arena, and then looked at the blood-stained t-shirt wrapped around his hand. His emotions were a little complicated. When he brought his brothers and sisters to chase after him, he didn't think too much. He just felt that he had been slapped in the face. When they reached the second half of the track, they were completely shocked by the godlike driving skills shown by the other party. There was no lack of masters in the underground racing world of Wujing City, but no one had ever driven a broken arena to such an extent on this track. In the past, the other masters didn't give in to each other. Little Zhong himself was considered a little famous racer in Wujing City. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the core of this group of people. But today he realized that he was a frog at the bottom of a well in the past. He was extremely ignorant and ridiculous. He was immersed in modifying the performance of the R8 and couldn't extricate himself. He thought that if the car was good, it would be good. Today's silver Hyundai had taught him a profound lesson. Judging from the speed increase, the other party had absolutely not made any modifications. But this person was able to completely play with the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. The car in that person's hands was no longer a car, but a living person. The arena's car sped along the dangerous track as if it was a human running. It was as if it was a part of its body, and it was as smooth as a finger. Whether it was the thrilling drifting on the edge of the cliff when they first met, or the wonderful brushing of the edge when he made every turn, his control of the car had already exceeded the limits of Little Zhong's knowledge. This was the real god of racing. Little Zhong was a very fanatical racing enthusiast. In his mind, racing was a very sacred thing. He wasn't like his other companions who liked to put a girl in the front passenger seat so that they could pursue a different kind of excitement while racing. Xiao Zhong's co-driver's seat was never given to people who had nothing to do with racing. Therefore, after being shocked by Qin Guang's perfect driving skills again and again, an idea came to Xiao Zhong's mind. I want to become his disciple and learn the best driving skills from him. Therefore, even though he had clearly lost his target and could not even eat the dust, Xiao Zhong still rushed down the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. He was unwilling to let the god of racing leave just like that. Even though he knew that it was very stupid to rush on the dirt road with the chassis of his car, he did so without hesitation. However, he didn't expect to overturn the car and even rush into the water. After trying a few times and realizing that he couldn't open the door and the water kept pouring in, Xiao Zhong thought that he was dead. At that moment, a savior descended from the sky and saved him from death. Before he surfaced, his mind was in a daze. He thought that the person who saved him was one of his buddies. After calming down a little and hearing from others, he realized that it was actually the driver of the arena, the god of racing in his heart, who had personally saved his life. Xiao Zhong's mood could no longer calm down. As soon as he calmed down and could barely move, he gritted his teeth and got up from the ground, walking towards Qin Guang. He approached Qin Guang step by step, and the group of people behind him also approached slowly. Looking at that fellow with his guard up, Qin Guang felt that he was truly unlucky. Even if he managed to save that fellow, he would still have to fight with them. How vexing. He had no choice but to save that fellow. According to the normal development of the situation with the nature of these rich young masters, they would definitely be, bastard. You made me overturn my car. Think about how you're going to compensate me. Kid, do you know who my father is? Blah blah. Say it yourself. My car needs at least 400,000 to 500,000 to repair. It's not too much to exchange for one of your legs, right? Left leg or right leg? Come on. Qin Guang clenched his fists tightly. The blood on his right t-shirt slowly spread, turning even redder. A murderous aura was brewing in his body. Qin Guang was, after all, the second officer of the En Royal. He had seen the world. Although he had a murderous aura, his heart was as calm as still water. He slowly adjusted his breathing and calculated. There were 7 young men on the other side. With his current strength, it would not be difficult to take them down. Since there was a grudge, then so be it. At worst, he would just have to deal with it. Just as he was brewing his aura to the peak and was about to take the initiative to strike first, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Wait a minute. Qin Guang's pupils shrank. There was something wrong with the look in the eyes of this friend who was walking in front. Qin Guang was frightened by the look in Xiao Zhong's eyes. He felt that this guy was even scarier than Zhang Yache. F***ck, Why did I compare this grandson to Jiang Yage? A man and a woman. They were two different things. Could it be that my body is too perfect that even men can't resist my charm? At this moment, Xiao Zhong suddenly sped up. Qin Guang was shocked and retreated. Grandson, what are you doing? Go away. Xiao Zhong sped up again and rushed in front of Qin Guang. He actually knelt on one knee. Qin Guang felt the world was spinning. It was as if the end of the world had come. Oh my God. The person I saved just now was really a gay man. I was only wearing my underwear and was hugged by a gay man. Now this gay man is going to propose to me. My outlook on life has been shaken. I'm so confused. Why is it like this? This is completely different from what I imagined. In the past you swaggered around in front of me. Now you have become a gay man because of my handsomeness. That's right, handsomeness is a verb. Dad, your son has let you down. He looks like he's quite rich. Just as Qin Guang was lost in his thoughts, Xiao Zhong raised his hands again and reached for Qin Guang's injured right hand. *CK This grandson still has a proposal ring on him, right? Are you going to take out the ring to propose to me? But my right hand is wrapped in my t-shirt and the wound on my ring finger is quite deep. Countless thoughts flashed through Qin Guang's mind. But in the end he stopped at one. Forget it. Our family is so short of money now. If I really have to sacrifice my body to help my dad through this, I'll just grit my teeth and close my eyes to get through it. A real man is not afraid of a rough fate. Chapter 109. With a resolute determination, Qin Guang slowly lowered his head and looked at Xiao Zhong's hands. There's no ring? Then what are you doing kneeling in front of me like a marriage proposal? What a waste of my expression. This is too much. He let out a long breath and felt a little disappointed. Why am I disappointed? On the other side, Xiao Zhong's hands finally touched Qin Guang's fists. Looking at his blood-soaked t-shirt, his eyes showed a hint of heartache. He looked up and down for a moment and thought to himself, what a waste of God's gift. This is the God's hand that God gave to the racing god. But he knew that it was this pair of hands that controlled the old Rena and made it look like a god. If I let him drive my R8, I really don't know what kind of terrifying brilliance he would have produced. Brother, looking at your eyes, you must have starved for at least 7 or 8 days to be able to make dongpo pork knuckle, right? Qin Guang really couldn't stand this guy's overly meaningful gaze. He hid his hands behind his back and said, Hey, what are you doing? Although I was the one who led you to the car, you fell into the water. But this has nothing to do with me, right? It's your own bad skill, not me who let you continue driving. Besides, didn't I just rescue you from there? We don't owe each other anything. Don't go overboard and pester me. He didn't have any experience interacting with a second-generation rich kid, and he couldn't figure out the current situation. Qin Guang was also purposely acting in an evil manner. He wanted to bring out his aura first, but he didn't want to lose out even if he lost. There were still people around who didn't understand the situation. Hearing Qin Guang's fierce tone, they put on a straight face and wanted to surround him. Xiao Zhong stood up abruptly and shouted, Stop! What are you doing? The racing god just saved my life. If anyone dares to be rude to the racing god again, I'll King kill that person. Little Zhong's sudden outburst gave everyone a fright. Qin Guang was not much better. Oh my god, the old man was really meticulous. This young man was deeply shocked by the old man's godlike driving skills. Turning danger into safety, turning an enemy into a friend, it's settled. You're really something. Even if I drive well, you don't have to act like that just now. You scared me to death. I thought you liked me. After little Zhong's outburst had silenced his companions, he immediately turned around and bowed deeply to Qin Guang. Thank you, racing god, for saving my life. My name is Zhong Bai, and these are my brothers and sisters. They were worried that I would get hurt, so they were a little impatient. Please forgive them, racing god. Qin Guang waved his hand. All right. It's good that you're fine. Let's not talk about saving my life. I'm quite embarrassed. Speaking of today's incident, it's also my fault. I shouldn't have scared you guys on purpose. At that time, I was just too excited and couldn't control my emotions. Fortunately, although it's a pity that the car crashed, fortunately you're fine. After the incident, Qin Guang's attitude immediately became very kind. Especially when he thought about how the current situation was developing, these people in front of him were likely to be the first batch of students in his future racing god training class. His eyes were like a kind elder's. Zhong Bai nodded and immediately looked at Qin Guang's hand again. This bastard's heart was aching again. Racing god. Sigh, your hand. It's all my fault. I'm too bad. No matter what, I shouldn't have rushed into the water. I'm not injured at all and I've bought waiting insurance for my car. It's not a big deal. Instead it's your hand that got hurt. Qin Guang waved his hand carelessly. It doesn't matter. It's just a small injury. Thinking back, old man. Oh no, I mean when I was a pirate I fought with people for many years. I've suffered injuries that were many times worse than this. Qin Guang was so proud that he spilled the beans about what happened in the transient sea. There was no other way. He was happy. Everyone standing here was money. Qin Guang's serious manner of talking nonsense was really unacceptable to Zhong Bai and the others. What a fucking racing god. When he was racing he was like a god descending to earth. When he went into the water to save people he was also so domineering and cool. How did he turn into a clown in the blink of an eye? Beside Zhong Bai, a girl wearing a tight leather jacket and shorts couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Then she completely lost control. She held her stomach and squatted down. Pointing at Qin Guang she laughed. Oh, I can't take it anymore. I'm still going to be the woman of the pirate king. My name is Mingqi Lufei. Qin Guang also knew that he was bragging too much. He hurriedly hinted to himself to keep it. Quickly keep it. These are the sponsors of the old man's racing god training class. I must protect the old man's noble, mysterious and elegant image in front of them. I can't let them find out that I'm a clown. While thinking about this, Qin Guang turned to look at the woman who was laughing at him. It's you. The one who took a picture of my ass with her phone. Zhong Bai also felt that the girl's attitude was a bit disrespectful to the racing god. He desperately coughed, hinting to her to quickly keep her magical power. The girl held it in for a long time. Then she stood up with a red face and said, Zhong Bai, you can't blame me. You also know my name. It's completely related to what he just said. Qin Guang then noticed that the old man's recent mental state was not good. I only noticed it after such a beautiful girl hanging around for so long. I'm blind. The leather-clad woman was about 1.67 meters tall. She wore a thin brown leather jacket that only reached her shoulders. She wore tight riding pants that accentuated her entire figure. She had a curvaceous figure, a wasp-like waist and a large butt. However, a good figure was not really good. The woman had shoulder-length hair and a little bit of baby fat on her oval face. However, this didn't ruin her overall beauty. Instead, it made her face more harmonious and round. On her lightly powdered face, her eyes were bright and full of expression, and her high nose bridge made her look like a mixed-race person. At this moment she was holding back her smile, and her curved lips made her look cute and playful. As Qin Guang compared her to the women he knew in his heart, he came to a conclusion that this woman was actually on the same level as the two national idols on his left and right. She was not inferior to Wenwen, another full-score goddess. Unfortunately she was a racing girl. She was not the same kind of person as the old man. No, wasn't the old man the racing god today? On the other side, Zhong Bai saw that Qin Guang was silent for a long time. He thought he was angry so he quickly came forward to explain, Senior Racing God, don't be angry with Lu Fei. She's like this. She uses her surname. She's like a spoiled young lady. She's very rude. We can't do anything about her. Lu Fei, Qin Guang's mouth twitched. Thinking about her name she deserved to laugh like this. Chapter 110. Hey. Zhong Bai, I don't like what you just said. What do you mean by rude? What do you mean by bossy temper? Lu Fei glared at him angrily and stepped on Zhong Bai's foot. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Yes, you really don't have a bossy temper. But soon he saw another side of Lu Fei. Their relationship was completely reconciled. Lu Fei took out a medicine box from her car and personally disinfected and bandaged Qin Guang's wound. Lu Fei frowned and said, Zhong Bai, you really have to thank Brother Racer God. The glass of your aid is so sturdy. Brother Racer God really used his fist to smash the glass to save you. Oh my God, look at this wound, it's almost to the bone. Zhong Bai's eyes were filled with tears. Lu Fei frowned and said, Zhong Bai, you really have to thank Brother Racer God. Zhong Bai nodded. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Qin Guang said, if you don't see it, there will be another result. Everyone was speechless. Lu Fei poured alcohol on Qin Guang's hand. If you didn't sing Hua Zai's songs, we could still be friends. Well, from now on we are good friends. Qin Guang immediately agreed. Full marks goddess. Qin Guang's easygoing attitude completely changed the view of these rich second generations who were shocked by his driving skills and then shocked by his domineering way of saving people. Although Qin Guang was still riding on that tattered rhina, he was still Tang Xing riding on a donkey. Regardless of how tattered his mount was, it couldn't change the lofty position that Qin Guang had in the hearts of these underground racers. Although Lu Fei was not a professional nurse, it seemed that she had deliberately learned wound treatment techniques. Her flexible and slender fingers flew up and down beside Qin Guang's right hand, and the two of them had intimate contact from time to time. At this time, a normal person would definitely be excited by the touch of the goddess's white and delicate skin, but Qin Guang only wanted to say, "Damn, this woman is even crazier than me when driving. Her fingers have calluses. Director. Her hand had barbs." Zhong Bai and the others accompanied Qin Guang and chatted with him. Qin Guang, on the other hand, got to know these people one by one and chatted with them. Just as he had expected, most of these young men were either this director, that director, or some young master of some family. Among the girls they might talk about famous models, new actors and singers, but in reality Qin Guang was also a man. Although he didn't understand the world of the rich second generation, he had a tacit understanding. Only Lu Fei was a little different. She said that her family owned a chemical factory and didn't talk about anything else. Of course, Qin Guang could see at a glance that she was different from other girls. At least, even Zhong Bai was sometimes afraid of her. When Lu Fei looked at other girls, there was always a lingering condescending look in her eyes. However, she was warm enough to Qin Guang. She followed Zhong Bai and called him God of Racing. Even if Qin Guang said his name, it didn't matter. Qin Guang smoothly explained why he had taken the initiative to provoke Zhong Bai, but Zhong Bai was so ashamed that he couldn't lift his face. He could only apologize to Qin Guang again and again, explaining that he was just deliberately scaring him. After all, they were racing, but they didn't want to involve ordinary people in case of any accidents. Qin Guang didn't care anymore. If it was scaring, Zhong Bai's fall into the water had scared him enough. They didn't know each other anymore. After chatting with everyone for a while, Zhong Bai finally plucked up the courage to pull the topic to Qin Guang's driving skills. He looked at Qin Guang with admiration and said, "Brother God of Racing, can you tell me how you practiced your driving skills? You're really amazing." Qin Guang's eyes lit up. "I'm worth hundreds of thousands of yuan per minute. I've been accompanying you here for so long. Isn't this what I've been waiting for? It's finally here." Qin Guang turned his head, looked at Zhong Bai first and then looked around. Seeing that the others were also looking at him expectantly, he coughed lightly and said, "Well, I really can't explain it to you in a few words. It's simple, but it's also complicated. Brother God of Racing, I have a presumptuous request. Can I learn how to drive from you? I want to worship you as my teacher. I want to learn too." Lu Fei, who was bandaging, also nodded. The others were also in a similar situation and followed. Qin Guang was proud in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. He just looked around the crowd again, forcibly raising his sense of mystery, and took a deep breath. "Brave young man. Oh no, guys, be more brothers. Oh, and Goddess Lu Fei, listen to me. Learn to race. Which one is stronger?" Cave prostitutes looking for Qin Guang. "Damn, when can this Chinibu disease of mine be cured? Fortunately, I didn't say the last sentence. It's really not easy to be like me. It's very difficult, very difficult." It wasn't easy for Qin Guang to protect his mysteriousness as he slowly spoke, word by word. Finally, he managed to turn the atmosphere into a heavy one. Everyone's breathing gradually became tense. They were frightened by Qin Guang's incomparably serious expression. Zhong Bai gritted his teeth and said, "Brother God of Racing, do I need to have the determination to die? I'm not afraid of death. I just want to drive faster. Be as fast as you." Lu Fei also seemed to have made up her mind. Even the hand that was bandaging Qin Guang became more forceful. She also nodded heavily. "That's right. We pulled out the Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack here. Those who don't understand will think that we are a group of non-mainstream people who have nothing better to do. Our families always use this to lecture us, but they don't understand and they don't understand. When the speed reaches the limit, that feeling of comfort that goes deep into the bones is really indescribable. At least, I want to be able to pursue the life I want more freely before I am married off and used as a bargaining chip. Brother God of Racing, teach us." "Okay. Since you all said so, I will definitely teach you. Absolutely not hold back." Although his driving skills were forcibly raised by the world within a cup, Qin Guang said that he didn't know how to teach others to be awesome, but this wasn't important. First, he had to swindle business. As for how to swindle and put it into practice, he just had to adapt to the situation. "This is my number. You guys remember it? Welcome to the Racing God training class. But currently, the training class is in preparation. If you guys can help me recruit a few more students, I will start the class immediately." "Huh? Start the class?" Zhong Bai, Lu Fei and the others were dumbfounded. Qin Guang wondered, aren't you going to start the class? You have so many people here. Do I still have to train them one by one? That's fine. Start the class. I'll be the first to sign up. Zhong Bai clapped his hands and decided on this matter. Chapter 111. Qin Guang was thinking in his heart that if he only said that he wanted to teach them, wouldn't that make it a favor between friends? How could he accept money from them? Since it's a training class, wouldn't it be reasonable for him to pay for it? It's the training fees. Qin Guang looked as if he was in a difficult position. Zhong Bai decided again, no problem. Brother Racing God, your skills are priceless. How can we learn for free? Just name a price. Qin Guang grinned and put up a finger. 1 day. That's the price. He thought to himself, 10,000 a day. Even the average green tea girl wouldn't be able to get this price for a day. I'm only selling my skills and not my body. Zhong Bai clapped again. Oh my God. Only 100,000 a day. Brother Racing God, you're too generous. Lu Fei also nodded. That's right. All right. We know you're too embarrassed to accept our money. This price is like giving it to you for free. Then it's decided. 1 day. 100,000. What the heck? Our values are a little different. Qin Guang held it in for a long time. In the end, he resisted the urge to bend his finger and tell them that this was the cruel reality of qi. He couldn't bring himself to do it. With 70% to 80% melancholy, Qin Guang said goodbye to everyone after Lu Fei was bandaged. They had nothing to do all day, but Qin Guang was a busy man. Today's day was really exciting. If I wrote this into a novel, I could brag about it for tens of thousands of words. But if I wrote tens of thousands of words in a day, I would most likely be scolded by the readers. But there was really no other way. I have no regrets in my life. It's just that colorful. If I had a choice, I would also like to lie in bed doing nothing and earn $1 million a month. Sigh, why did I only compete with one? Or should I be a little more shameless and say that it's 1 million and haggle with them? Why did I agree to it so readily? I really can't understand Zhong Bai and Lu Fei. Is racing really that fun? Is it so charming? 100,000 a day is considered cheap? Was there something wrong with this person's brain? Also, this kind of rich second generation was different from the ones written in novels. Wasn't it because I glanced at him while I was walking that he wanted to kill my entire family, steal my wife and daughter, and fight to the death? I even brought him into the fish pond, but because he admired my driving skills, not only did he not care about it, but he was also very respectful. I hurt my hand, but they are more distressed than I am. He almost made me into a statue of Guan Yu and put me on the wall. Lu Fei was the same. She was the daughter of a wealthy family, yet she actually knew how to bandage someone's wound? How could the daughter of a rich family learn such a considerate thing? Oh, there's no bow on my hand, no bow. Holy shit. When did this big sister tie a bow on my bandage? In short, Qin Guang felt that it was very unreasonable and unscientific for a second-generation nouveau riche to have such a lofty personality. He hadn't interacted with anyone in this circle. In fact, he didn't understand that the people who mingled in the underground racing circle were mostly young people whose families weren't lacking in money at all. For these people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, money really wasn't that important. They bought cars, modified cars, and spent hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, but never felt a heartache. Even to the extent that in order to race more freely, they pooled their money together to create the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack as their paradise. When life had become pure consumption, when money had become a boring number that was transferred from their parents' generation every month, they only wanted to spend the money where they were satisfied. As long as they felt that the money was well spent, and that they could afford it, they would not hesitate to take it out. They called it a fever. A top racer sincerely accepted an apprentice, and the apprenticeship fee was far more than a few $100,000. Zhong Bai himself was an expert in Wujing City's underground racing circle. In recent years there weren't many people who could convince him. There weren't more than 5 people who could convince him wholeheartedly in the entire Wujing City. To be able to make him feel as if he was a celestial being, he wished he could kneel down and call him a god. There was only one. That was Qin Guang. Today, even if Qin Guang really offered a sky-high price of $1 million, Zhong Bai wouldn't refuse. Of course he wouldn't bear the cost alone. In the end he agreed with Qin Guang's offer, but he didn't take the initiative to raise it. In fact, he felt that when a person had reached a godlike level in a certain skill, he must have his own principles. He only asked for a mere 100,000. It must be as Lu Fei said. It was nothing more than a friendly price. If I raised the price again, wouldn't it make the racing god look down on me? It would make him feel that I was tarnishing his godlike skill with money? The ignorant were the most pitiful. If Chen Guang knew the truth, who knew how many liters of tears he would shed? Another local tyrant who was afraid of tarnishing him with money. Ah, what a painful realization. On the other side, Chen Guang looked at his watch and found that it was almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon. He thought to himself, it's time to go back to school to receive guidance from Teacher Zhua. I stood Teacher Zhua up and ruined the school sports. Will she hang me up on a tree and beat me when I go back? Isn't this a bit of a shameful play? My hand? This must have been predestined by the heavens, right? My hand is injured like this. It's normal that I can't go into the water. This is simply a natural excuse without any preservatives. Maybe Teacher Zhuo will show more concern for me when she sees me injured so badly. Chen Guang couldn't help but think of Zhuo Jingxi's mature and charming appearance. He then thought of her sitting in front of him, bending down to carefully examine the wound on his hand. He frowned slightly, his face full of heartache. Then, from her neckline he could, just thinking about it made him a little excited. Click. Suddenly his car stopped and the engine stopped. He opened the door and got out of the car. The front of the engine was smoking. Chen Guang hurriedly opened the trunk and took out a fire extinguisher. He opened the engine cover and planned to spray it in. But when he looked again, there was no fire. There was no fire, but the inside of the engine cover was full of black smoke. There were even sparks in some places. Whatever, I'll spray it first. He picked up the fire extinguisher and sprayed it in. He didn't know how long it took, but finally there was no smoke at all. Chen Guang opened his eyes wide and looked inside again. Tragic. This is really tragic. This car didn't even make it halfway before it blew up. Thank God. I've been driving a magically modified Alto for a long time. How could I forget about this? How could my poor little broken Rena endure such torment? I'm afraid I've used up all my strength to last until now. Why am I so capable? If it weren't for the racing god training class, Chen Guang would definitely be stomping his feet in regret. Chapter 112. Squatting on the side of the road, he felt an indescribable pain in the ass. He was still on a dirt road and there were no villages or shops around. The engine was burnt, and the rest of the powertrain was probably gone. Fine, I'll call for a tow truck. In this desolate place, the towing fee will cost a few hundred RMB. I'll call that insurance company. Didn't they say that they towed cars around Wujing 24 hours a day? It seems like only 300 renminbi? My heart hurts too. Forget it, I'll give up. After the call, Chen Guang looked at the car up and down again. The four wheels were full of burrs. Looking closely, they seemed to be one size smaller than normal wheels, and the anti-skid tread was almost worn out. His heart was stuffed and the wheels had to be changed. After waiting for a while, the insurance company was still on the way. Chen Guang's phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was his best friend who had lent the car to him, the adorable Zhu Jifa. Strange, why did he call me? What a coincidence. Did he have telepathy with his broken car? He sensed that his broken car was halfway into the Yellow Springs Road. Hello? Where the hell are you? Why did the insurance company call me just now and say that my car broke down and needs to be towed? Zhu Jifa opened his mouth and revealed the truth. Chen Guang's mouth twitched. Damn, he had forgotten about this. He was the owner of the car, and the insurance company had registered his number. They must have called him to ask him, the owner of the car. Chen Guang chuckled as he replied, "Oh my, why did you have to be alarmed by such a small matter? I'm in Fengquan County and I took a guest to the village here. In the end, the car ran out of gas." *CK. It really ran out of gas? How could Zhu Jifa not understand Chen Guang? From his tone, he knew that things were not that simple. Chen Guang could not admit that he had used this car to race the entire Fengquan Mountain racetrack. He was determined not to admit it. Of course, it's just that it ran out of gas. Otherwise, do you think it's a big deal? Little piggy, hurry up and get busy with your big business. Don't worry about my little mess. On the other side of the phone, Zhu Jifa's face darkened. He covered the receiver with his hand and turned to the little beautiful secretary next to him. Go out and inform them that the meeting will be postponed for 15 minutes. I have something urgent here. After the beautiful secretary closed the office door, Zhu Jifa took a deep breath and roared into the phone. Chen Guang, why don't you take 5 pictures of my car for me? Send it to me. Everything. No blind spots. Don't play dumb with me. Your ability to lie is useless in front of me. Ever since I was young, as long as you stuck out your chrysanthemum, I would know that you were going to have diarrhea. Quick and agile. Stop dilly-dallying. Immediately. Now. Even through the phone, Qin Guang knew that Zhu Jifa was in his father's small rundown factory. He felt like countless spittle was spurting out of the phone. Well, I can't hide it anymore. I'll hang up and take a picture. He didn't need to take any other pictures. He took one of the engine compartment and sent it to Zhu Jifa via WeChat. 10 seconds later, Zhu Jifa called again. He was actually not angry anymore. Are you alright? Qin Guang acknowledged, it's fine. It's just that as I was opening it, it started to emit smoke. I don't know why either. I'm not afraid that you'll feel bad for your car. That's why I only said that it ran out of gas. Zhu Jifa grunted. Alright, as long as you're fine. Look at how rotten it is. It'll probably cost 10 or 20,000 yuan to fix. I might as well not fix it. I've changed my car. Can you take my Miting? Qin Guang shook his head. No, don't. I don't need to rent a Miting with that kind of gas consumption. I've lost so much money. I'll just use this car. Just fix it. Then I'll transfer the money to you. My car broke down on its own. I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. This kind of bad method can't be insured. Anyway, don't panic. Zhu Jifa hung up the phone. Another 20 seconds passed. A notification came from the PayPal app. Zhu Jifa has transferred 20,000 RMB to you. This bastard is afraid that I don't have the money. Qin Guang's face darkened. He's looking down on me. In a few days I'll be a driving god who earns 10,000 yuan a day. I won't accept this. He called again. It was Zhu Jifa's pretty secretary who picked up. Brother Qin? COFA is in a meeting. I'm afraid he won't be able to handle it for a while. He told you to save it. Oh, that's what COFA told me to tell you. He said that he'll send someone to send your parents to Wujing City in a few days. When the time comes, you'll have to go to the hospital. You better hurry up and fix the car. Don't dawdle. Don't waste any more time about the money. Qin Guang hung up. He pouted. COFA? Where's the bristles? When Qin Guang finally returned to school, it was already past 8 in the evening. The car wouldn't be coming back today. Tomorrow was also out of the question. He wanted to listen to Teacher Zhua's teachings. It was already late. Teacher Zhua must have her own nightlife. Tomorrow. After wrapping the Hello Kitty Holy Grail in his clothes, Qin Guang shrunk his neck and scurried into the dormitory. He had been going up and down the stairs like this for the past few days. He was afraid that someone would see the pink cup cover. When Qin Guang entered the room, the 3 people in the dormitory saw the bandaged wound on his hand. They immediately exploded. Brother Guang, where did you run off to today? Didn't class rep's son come back a long time ago? Teacher Zhua and a lot of people in our class waited for you at the swimming pool for a long time. They didn't see you. You didn't see Teacher Zhua's expression at that time. It was like a frosted eggplant. You're dead meat in tomorrow's geometry class. What's wrong with your hand? Bai Nyangzi's reaction was the fastest. When Qin Guang entered the door, he kept yelling non-stop. Then he saw the bandage on Qin Guang's hand and screamed at the top of his lungs. On the other side, Lin Jingwei, who was lying on the computer and controlling the will-o-wisp, also threw down the mouse and stood up. He frowned and looked at Qin Guang's hand. You didn't come to the competition today. Did you injure your hand outside? What the hell is going on? Xiong Jinka, this guy, actually took out the spring stick he used to train his arm strength from the closet. He grabbed Qin Guang's right hand. Brother Guang, who did this? Tell me. I'll beat the shit out of you. Qin Guang said, it's just a minor injury. If you pinch it a little longer, I'll have to have my arm amputated. After spending a lot of effort to explain, Qin Guang only said that he acted bravely today and saved a young man who was driving a car into the river. His hand was scratched by the glass when he was saving the young man. It wasn't a serious injury and it would heal after a while. Only then did he let the 3 of them settle down. Speaking of which, when did Brother Guang become the living Lei Feng of the new era? You save people every 2 or 3 days. Are you going to become Detective Conan's nemesis one day? Bai Nyangzi rolled his eyes and said half jokingly and half seriously. Qin Guang was puzzled. How am I related to Detective Conan? I'm not a detective. I'm not a murderer. Bai Nyangzi chuckled. You don't understand. Wherever Detective Conan goes, people die. Wherever you go, people don't die. If you and Detective Conan are in the same room, will the collision of your telekinesis create a black hole? Come on, with my virtue, if I dare to share a room with Detective Conan, I'll die before I can save him. Qin Guang was hit by Bai Nyangzi's imagination. On the other side, Lin Jingwei, who had already pounced on the computer, suddenly said, Brother Guang, I don't know what will happen if you and Detective Conan are together. But tomorrow you better call Teacher Zhua and explain it to him. Because today, all the events in our class's school sports meet were destroyed. You are the last straw to save our lives. In the end, you flew away with the pigeons. Your reason for asking for leave is so insincere. You even tried to hide the fact that you saved someone. Bai Nyangzi didn't say anything just now. Anyway, Teacher Zhuo is very angry and you are in a very dangerous situation. *CK, why are you guys making it sound so scary? I'm panicking. Why don't I take off the bandage tomorrow and squeeze some blood out to add some special effects? Why don't I go to see Teacher Zhuo with a bloody hand? But why did the whole class get destroyed? There's no reason. Qin Guang felt strange. No way? So miserable? Completely destroyed? What event did Xiong apply for? With his physical fitness, he shouldn't even be able to pass the preliminaries, right? Qin Guang didn't notice that when he asked this, Xiong quickly put on his headphones. Lin Jingwei said with a straight face, "Orienteering." Qin Guang was even more confused. Isn't orienteering still an off-road? It's nothing more than another map holding a compass and running according to the map. Xiong has no problem. Lin Jingwei said seriously, the competition venue is in the town's wetland park. Xiong got lost. We looked for him for more than 3 hours before we found him next to the fish pond in the neighboring town. When he was about to fall asleep, Qin Guang felt his stomach hurt. Xiong's orienteering had caused 10,000 damage to his abdominal muscles. Before he fell asleep, he finally thought of tomorrow's matter. Sai, don't get eaten alive by Teacher Zhuo, right? Oh, I seem to have forgotten something. Didn't we agree to bring those 3 grandsons to the set? Don't care about those details. Brother's life is long. Everything has to look forward. Let the past go with the wind. Chapter 113. Early the next morning when Qin Guang woke up, the first thing he did was hide the cup in his pocket and sneak outside. That's right, his package had finally arrived. It was the cup cover he had carefully chosen online, the Holy Grail and Emperor of the Azure's new equipment, the Batman mug cover. The Hello Kitty cup cover was too cool. Qin Guang was worried that his life would be ruined by this cup cover, so he had to change quickly. Like a wisp of smoke, Qin Guang ran to the school's delivery room and rummaged through the mountain of strange goods for his bag. After that, Qin Guang ran to a corner of the school field like a thief and took out a cup from his clothes, intending to change the clothes for the colored glaze emperor. If you dare to peel off this old lady's outer layer of skin, this old lady promises that next time, I will crush every inch of your bones into dregs. If you ask me to help you with anything else in the future, don't even think that I will agree. Just as Qin Guang was about to happily lay down on the Hello Kitty cup cover, Lioli's voice suddenly rang out in his head. His hand froze. What? Why is this happening? How much do you love the color pink? The new one I bought looks even better. Emperor of the Azure chuckled. You're really forgetful. Have you forgotten what I helped you with yesterday and what state I'm in right now? Anyway, you're on your own now. That's all I have to say. With that, Emperor of the Azure really didn't say anything else. Qin Guang looked at the little pink cup in his left hand, then at the cool and domineering Batman cup cover on his right. He couldn't use it, so he sighed and felt sorry for himself. Why is it that I'm always the one getting hurt? So I forget it. I'll just endure it. The bitter days will come to an end sooner or later. I'll wait for the day when the bitter days are over and the sweet days come. I don't believe that you, Emperor of the Azure, can run around naked for the rest of your life for me to see. He returned to the cafeteria and was awkwardly eating breakfast when the second tribulation of the day suddenly came. It was a call from Zhuo Jingxi. Sure enough, it was as Sun Xiaoxuan and Bai Nyangzi had said. The newly appointed counselor was indeed in a bad mood. Her voice gave off a feeling of overflowing killing intent. Qin Guang, are you in school now? Qin Guang's scalp went numb. He thought to himself, big sis, you're our school's counselor after all. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Aren't you afraid of scaring your students? Frankly speaking, Qin Guang did not really like this new counselor. He always felt that this person was too addicted to being an official. How could there be someone like you who insisted on having the whole class sign up for the school sports? Alright, seeing that you're a beauty, I'll reluctantly repay you. If you want to achieve something, fine. Our whole class will go crazy with you and play with you. But it was agreed that the most important thing was to participate. Even if I have the strength to win the championship, I have the freedom to choose whether I want to go or not. Students are born free. Do I even need a reason to withdraw from the competition? Do I need to explain it to you? You're my counselor, not my mother. You're too bossy. Even if the whole class is eliminated because of my withdrawal, you have no right to vent your anger on me. Hello, Teacher Zhua. I'm in school. I'm eating breakfast in the cafeteria. Are you looking for me? What happened yesterday isn't what you think. I'll give you a reasonable explanation. That's strange. I was clearly thinking very highly of Long Out Yen just now. Why did the scene suddenly change after I said that? My willpower is too weak, isn't it? No wonder I forced Lioli to practice. Zhuo Jingxi, who was on the other side of the phone, took another deep breath and said, "Then come to the school building after breakfast. I'll wait for you in the office. Your class doesn't have any classes this morning, right?" "No classes. I'll be there in 15 minutes. 10 minutes later, Qin Guang stood in the corner of the school building feeling a little conflicted. Should he remove the bandage or not? That was a problem. Lu Fei had applied medicine on it yesterday. According to the female pirate king, it would take at least 12 hours before he removed it. By then the wound should have almost scabbed. Even if he removed it, it wouldn't tear the wound and cause it to bleed again. It was still too early to remove it now. It might cause the wound that hadn't scabbed to open again, and he would have to apply medicine and disinfect it again. But if he didn't remove it, he would have to spend a lot of effort to explain it to Zhuo Jingxi, and she might not really believe him. After all, his entire hand was wrapped in bandages, and it looked very exaggerated. There was even a cute bow on it. God knew if Zhuo Jingxi, the official fanatic, would think that he deliberately made a fake bandage to fool her. I always try to figure out this counselor with the greatest evil intentions. The old man is such a person. Otherwise, how can I always turn misfortune into blessing and succeed in every endeavor? In addition, Qin Guang was still thinking about what measures he should take to make this counselor feel the greatest guilt toward him. Of course, Qin Guang didn't deliberately want to set him up. He always did things with a clear purpose. Now that this new counselor had taken office, it looked like she was going to be serious and clean up the academic atmosphere. Qin Guang, the tyrant of a generation, felt a lot of pressure. That's right. He was the man who was known as the king of truancy. If he didn't deal with the counselor, how could he sleep easy and skip classes? From time to time, he would have a sports car to earn money. The burden of the whole family was on him alone. Forget about my useless father who took a dead salary. I'm already the god of racing with a daily income of 100,000. Of course, skipping classes was an easy thing to get addicted to. So, for the second half of the semester and the happiness of his senior year, Qin Guang decided to turn himself into a monstrous flood and first put out the 3 fires of the new counselor. I'll make her feel like she owes me so that when she gets caught skipping classes in the future, she won't be used as a model. Remove it. Of course I have to remove it. And I have to remove it in front of her. Valiantly and energetically, Qin Guang charged into the school building. He held his head high and entered Zhuo Jingxi's office. When he entered, Zhuo Jingxi was lying on her desk, writing and drawing. Seeing Qin Guang come in, she put down her pen and stood up. Before she could speak, she saw the bandaged hand that Qin Guang had deliberately placed in front of his chest. She frowned. "Qin Guang, what happened to your hand? Didn't Officer Wu ask me to assist in the investigation yesterday morning? It's about Pan Jiang drugging son Xiaoxuan. When I returned to school, didn't I see that it was only past 9 in the morning? The competition was in the afternoon. Teacher Zhua, you know my family's special situation, right? So I thought that if I went out and ran for half a day, I could just come back half an hour before the competition started." But Qin Guang wanted to say something but stopped. He deliberately pretended to accidentally hurt his right hand and forced a smile on his face. "Oh my, it hurts." Zhuo Jingxi's eyebrows furrowed even more. She thought to herself, "Student, I give you negative marks for this acting." But what? Zhuo Jingxi was patient and decided to continue to cooperate with Qin Guang's clumsy performance. But it was in the afternoon. I was planning to go back to school after I finished picking up the last customer. In the end, I encountered something at Fengquan Mountain. The situation at that time was so scary. A few young people were racing and I saw the R8 rush into the water. Teacher Zhua, you know that I can swim, so I went into the water to save people. As you can see, my hand was injured from smashing the glass when I was saving people. But at least no one died and I saved them. As Qin Guang spoke, he stretched his hand forward. Chapter 114. Zhuo Jingxi couldn't help but smirk. She thought to herself, keep pretending, keep pretending. Let's see what else you can do. You really know how to boast. You even said the R8 crashed into the river. Why don't you just boast to the sky? It's true that you can swim, but your story is too unbelievable. I don't believe it. Yeah. Your hand is really badly injured. It's all wrapped up. Alright, the bandage from yesterday should be changed today, right? I happen to have a medicine box and medicine here. Come over, I'll change the bandage for you. As Zhuo Jingxi spoke, she suddenly turned around and opened her locker. She actually took out a medicine box from inside. She was determined to be a successful counselor. Of course, she would consider the possibility of accidental injuries in the class. She had prepared this medicine box a long time ago. She didn't expect to be able to take it out today and expose this troublesome student's tricks. Zhuo Jingxi felt a little proud. However, Qin Guang hid his hand behind his back. Teacher Zhuo, let's forget about it. I was injured yesterday afternoon. It hasn't even been 24 hours. If I remove the bandage now, the wound will open up. As he said this, Qin Guang thought to himself, I really don't know if I should be sad or happy. If I change my way of thinking, there's actually this special effect. She really fell for it. From the purposeful cry of pain at the beginning to the exultant bragging about how he saved the person, Qin Guang deliberately put on a clumsy performance so that Zhuo Jingxi wouldn't believe him. I didn't expect her to have a medicine box. Originally, I was worried that a normal trick wouldn't be strong enough. Now, I made her take the initiative to remove the bandages. When she sees me bleeding, the guilt in her heart will definitely be unbearable. Just ask me why I'm so slippery. When Zhuo Jingxi heard Qin Guang's words, she really didn't believe him. Give me your hand. Even if it's the bandage from yesterday, it should have been changed a long time ago. Otherwise, the wound will fester if it's covered for too long. Quick, give me your hand. But the wounds are very deep and the speed of scab formation is very slow. I really can't remove it before the time is right. Qin Guang continued to hide his hands bashfully, his face full of embarrassment. Zhuo Jingxi saw how stubborn he was, and she was completely convinced that Qin Guang was lying. She then recalled the tragic scene of the entire class being wiped out yesterday, and then looked at Qin Guang's shameless face. She thought to herself, why is this student so terrible? He doesn't even have a sense of collective honor. Yes, your family is in trouble. If you have any trouble, just tell me. If you drive for an extra hour or two, you can earn a few more bucks. As long as you can win the championship, I will personally reward you with 1,000 yuan. What's the meaning of standing the whole class up without saying a word? Do you know how awkward it was for me to wait there foolishly with dozens of people to cheer for you, but I didn't even see your shadow? You're just a selfish, vile man. Don't even think about getting away with it today. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Zhuo Jingxi finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She took a step forward, grabbed Qin Guang's right hand, and was about to pull off his bandage. *CK. If you pull it off like this, it won't be as simple as just bleeding. You're too much. Counselors should follow the basic rules even if they want to be unreasonable. During the last class, although this counselor was a little immature in public, he still performed decently. But today in private he became like this. You've really disappointed me as a student. Qin Guang was also furious. He pushed his left hand forward, not caring where it was. He just wanted to push Zhuo Jingxi away. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Jingxi let out a scream and took a few steps back with a red face. She covered her chest with one hand and looked like she was in pain. She widened her almond-shaped eyes and looked at Qin Guang with a rather complicated gaze. What happened just now? I only touched her lightly, and she suffered such a heavy injury? Could it be that I have unknowingly mastered the inner force that only second Uncle Wenwen has? Could it be that I'm a legendary martial arts genius? I can even master something as awesome as inner force without a teacher? That can't be right. If I remember correctly, second Uncle Wenwen had hit his inner force into my hand, which was why I killed him in one move. That's right, I must have been guided by second uncle's inner force and naturally understood the essence of inner force. It's just that this thing is mysterious after all. Before my inner force really exploded, I didn't feel it at all. I'm really a genius. I only got hit by second uncle who has inner force, and I already learned this terrifying supernatural power. Second uncle, you're really my benefactor. Although we're not teacher and student, we're actually teacher and student. Please allow me to call you master, in my heart. Qin Guang. How could you? Zhuo Jingxi finally spoke. She covered her chest with her hand and looked at Qin Guang with a face full of shame and anger. Qin Guang was suddenly pulled back to reality from his endless reverie. He turned his head to look at Zhuo Jingxi with a blank expression. Teacher Zhuo's expression didn't seem like she had suffered an internal injury. Her hand was protecting. Damn. Could it be that when I pushed against her chest just now, I pushed against her pectoralis major? What a coincidence. The god of wretchedness is looking after me. At this time, Zhuo Jingxi's chest was pushed against by Qin Guang's left palm. The position of a woman was actually very fragile, and it was very easy to be hurt. Not to mention that her chest was much larger than an ordinary woman's. Therefore she was embarrassed, resentful and sore. Her tall body was slightly bent, and her fair face was flushed, making it even more conspicuous. A charming aura spread out from her body, sweeping over like the waves of the sea. Chen Guang looked at her a little longer and couldn't stand it anymore. But Chen Guang knew that the more it was at this time, the more he couldn't show an outstanding appearance. Otherwise it would be over for him today. The god of acting. Save me. I'll beat that god of wretchedness to death first. Fiercely gritting his teeth, Chen Guang didn't care about Zhuo Jingxi's current state. Instead he slammed the table fiercely. Teacher Zhuo. Zhuo Jingxi's heart skipped a beat. This time she was dumbfounded. You're acting like a hooligan and you still dare to hit the table? Chen Guang didn't give her a chance to speak. Instead he suddenly stretched out his right hand and placed it flat, while his left hand rested on the end of the bandage. Fine, if you want me to remove it, I'll remove it. Yes, it's time to change the bandage. Thanks for your hard work. As he spoke, Chen Guang quickly pulled the end of the bandage. However, when it was time to remove the bandage and remove the gauze, his movements were not violent. Just kidding, I'm not stupid. Acting is one thing, but I don't really want to play around. However, when Chen Guang was halfway through removing the bandage, he could already see the dried brownish red. Just now, when Zhuo Jingxi snatched Chen Guang's hand, she seemed to have really opened up the wound a little. Beside the dried blood, there really was a bright red that had just seeped out. Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed in an instant. He was really injured? He wasn't pretending? Chapter 115. Chen Guang. Don't unwrap it. It's too early. Zhuo Jingxi said and wanted to stop Chen Guang's hand. But at this time, Chen Guang finally summoned the god of acting. How could he stop just like that? Accept my justice. Have a taste of the long-lost ultimate skill of Jianghu, the secret spirit technique. Guilt kill. Chen Guang turned around and blocked Zhuo Jingxi behind him, but his hands didn't stop moving. He said, Teacher Zhuo, didn't you say it already? It's already past night and it's time to change the bandages. Thank you, I really thank you. It'll cost more to go to the school hospital. Just as Chen Guang had expected, Zhuo Jingxi was so embarrassed that her eyes widened. She was finally sure that Chen Guang wasn't lying, and that he really was injured in order to save someone. As a teacher, her heart was too dark and dirty. My mind was only thinking about the so-called collective sense of honor, and all I could think about was showing results in the school sports meet. In fact, it was just me being too impatient and wanting to earn a good performance as soon as possible. My impatience blinded my heart, and I actually doubted Chen Guang for no reason. Compared to him, I'm actually the real selfish and despicable person. I was crazy enough to try to tear off his bandages. Am I crazy? He must have been anxious just now and was afraid that I would tear his wound, so in a moment of desperation, he accidentally touched my chest. He didn't even notice it himself. Zhuo Jingxi thought this in her mind while trying to turn to Chen Guang to stop him. Of course, Chen Guang wouldn't let her have her way. Zhuo Jingxi circled around him, and he kept turning around as well, maintaining the heavily injured Teacher Zhuo behind him. He said, Teacher Zhuo, I'm already halfway through dismantling it. I can't just tie it up again, right? Don't be like this. It'll really tear the wound. Zhuo Jingxi shouted. She wanted to reach out to grab Chen Guang's hand, but she was worried about his injuries and didn't dare to really grab him. She continued to circle around Chen Guang's back with all her might. Teacher Zhuo, I'm your student. Of course, a student has to believe in a teacher. It's already scabbed, it's definitely healed. As he spoke, he had already removed the last layer of gauze. Needless to say, it really hurt when he pulled it like this. However, it didn't matter. The scar had already grown halfway. As long as he was careful when he tore it open and didn't tear it too much, he could disinfect it again and apply medicine again. It wouldn't affect the speed of recovery. Zhuo Jingxi, who was behind him, finally saw this scene from the side. She saw that he was really tearing open the last layer bit by bit. She could even see fresh blood oozing out from the wound. There was also a large, bright red scar. It was a ghastly sight. Zhuo Jingxi was scared out of her wits. Perhaps she was possessed, or perhaps she was overly guilty, causing her to completely lose her composure. She was anxious. She actually hugged Chen Guang's back from behind. She hugged him fiercely. Chen Guang, Teacher Zhuo apologizes to you. I'm sorry. Don't pull it anymore, okay? Okay. On the other side, Chen Guang was carefully tearing open the last layer of gauze. He was also very nervous as he controlled his strength. He didn't want to pull too hard. He never would have thought that Teacher Zhua actually had a lost secret technique. Ultra Shockwave Strike. Secret Freeze Strike. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't hold on anymore. My back. Heavy injuries. Feeling the pressure of the secret abundance on his back, it was like two huge mountains. The shockwave covered the sky and the earth, sweeping towards him. It was abnormally fierce. Zhuo Jingxi was tall and much more voluptuous than ordinary people. Being hugged from behind like this, the bouncy Miss Mountain almost sent him flying. That was not all. She even tried to stretch her hand from behind to the front to stop Qin Guang's left hand. This continuous movement made the shockwave even more like waves, wave after wave, wave after wave. For a moment, Qin Guang's entire body felt as if it had been electrocuted. He felt limp and numb. In the depths of his mind, a huge beast came out of its cage. His body suddenly stiffened and he couldn't control it at all. The old man's Qilin arm was completely out of control. Rip. His left hand also stiffened. Then his body suddenly pulled to the side. This is bad. Grenade throwing Lu. Didn't you say to pull gently and slowly? Oh, my hand. F***CK, what a big cut. A bunch of cuts. Doctor. This time my injury has really worsened. Bang. 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 Teacher Zhua, why didn't you follow the script? You tricked me. This time Qin Guang finally got what he asked for and courted death to the extreme. He really just wanted to use this opportunity to naturally ascend to the throne of the king of truancy in the future, but he didn't expect that he would play it out of hand. He completely didn't expect that Zhuo Jingxi, as a teacher, would actually use such a despicable and shameless killer move in broad daylight. He threw himself forward and first broke free from Zhuo Jingxi's embrace. Then, with a sullen face, Qin Guang raised his right hand and turned around. He pouted and said, Teacher Zhua, see? I'm really hurt. Hurry up and stop the bleeding for me. Zhuo Jingxi looked at Qin Guang's hand and her face turned pale with fright. That bloody wound, that fresh red blood that kept coming out, had already flowed down Qin Guang's fingers and onto the ground. Every drop of blood that fell onto the ground was like a knife cutting into Zhuo Jingxi's heart. I really don't deserve to be a teacher. Zhuo Jingxi was so remorseful that she almost wanted to die. Her eyes suddenly became hazy and tears flowed out. Qin Guang, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Teacher Zhua has let you down. Slap me, I feel terrible in my heart. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Fine, today was really a day of bad luck. A man's blood, a woman's tears, the two great poisons of the world, were both alive. To be honest, I really didn't want to make you cry. Things really turned out this way. Man proposes, God disposes. It's just a coincidence. Teacher Zhuo, don't cry. It's my hand that shook when I took it off. It's not your fault. Hurry up and help me stop the bleeding. Even if you want me to hit you, you have to rebandage it before I hit you. Otherwise, if I flung my hand like this, wouldn't the wall be covered in oil paintings? Qin Guang said quickly. His current appearance only looked miserable. It hurt when he took off the bandage, but after the pain he didn't feel anything anymore. The blood on his hand looked scary, but the medicine that Lu Fei used yesterday was really not simple. The scab formation was better than expected. After that stream of blood, it slowly stopped bleeding. Old Master Qin Guang was also someone who had gone through mountains of knives and seas of fire in the momentary sea. He had seen countless big scenes and had lost count of how many times his head had flown away. With just a little thought, he calmed down and hurriedly comforted Zhuo Jingxi. When Zhuo Jingxi heard this, she lifted her sleeves and wiped the tears from her eyes. Then she nodded heavily and said, Yes. Quickly sit down, I'll help you bandage it and stop the bleeding. Chapter 116. Seeing Zhuo Jingxi busy herself around him with red eyes, Qin Guang actually felt quite embarrassed. Today's performance had gone to such an extent that the situation was a bit out of control. He didn't know if this incident would cause any psychological trauma to Teacher Zhua. It was better to try to say something to remedy the situation, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. Teacher Zhua. Qin Guang called out softly. Zhuo Jingxi carefully applied medicine to the wound on his finger as she softly responded, Go ahead, I'm listening. Listening to her sweet and greasy voice, which still had a slight tremble after crying, Qin Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. Sis, you've changed so much that I can't take it anymore. Teacher Zhuo, don't blame yourself too much. My wand just looks scary. The group of youngsters who drove yesterday were second-generation rich kids. I don't know what kind of powerful medicine they gave me, but it's worth a lot of money. My recovery is better than I thought. I reckon that after you change the bandage this time, I won't need to be bandaged anymore after 3 to 5 days. Qin Guang was speaking the truth. He had a lot of experience with wounds. Yes, he had trained in the sea of fleeting time. Zhuo Jingxi flirtatiously rolled her eyes at him. Do you think your teacher doesn't feel guilty enough? Remember, if you change the bandage today, I'll change it for you after school tomorrow afternoon. Qin Guang waved his left hand repeatedly. No need really. Zhuo Jingxi didn't let him talk nonsense. Her hands didn't stop moving as she said, if you really don't want teacher Zhuo to die of guilt, then listen to me. Just treat it as you're doing a good deed, okay? Qin Guang sighed. He was a little touched. Zhuo Jingxi's guilt couldn't be faked. If she really was a despicable official addict, she wouldn't really feel guilty to this extent. Although she was a bit impatient and greedy for achievements, she was indeed a good person deep down. Qin Guang couldn't help but feel a little curious. He didn't know why a person like her would be so eager to achieve something in her career, even going so far as to make her whole class sign up for the school sports meet, and do something so ridiculous that she cared so much about her own swimming competition. Teacher Zhuo, actually yesterday Qin Guang wanted to tell the truth. Zhuo Jingxi waved her hand. Don't talk about what happened yesterday anymore. The more you talk about it, the more upset I feel. In short, let bygones be bygones. I will also reflect on myself. Don't worry, I will definitely be like Teacher Shen and become a qualified counselor. I won't trouble you anymore. I'm your counselor, and I'm here to help you solve all the problems in your studies and life. What I did before was wrong. Qin Guang's mouth was wide open. The truth couldn't come out. Forget it, so be it. Actually, I'm quite regretful. I think that if I continued to participate in swimming competitions, our class would indeed have a champion. That brat Dong Tao wouldn't be my opponent. In the pool, I would only need 2 fingers to crush him. Next year, I'll fight for a bunch of championships for you. I'll sign up for all the swimming events. Qin Guang grinned. Zhuo Jingxi blushed and looked at him. You're still making fun of me? No, I really didn't. Qin Guang was very serious. All right, I've wrapped it up. I've even restored the bow for you. The one who wrapped it for you yesterday must be a beautiful girl with nimble hands. My bow isn't as pretty as hers, and she wrapped it up better than me. Zhuo Jingxi stood up and rubbed her palms. She was a little dissatisfied with her own artwork. Qin Guang cursed in his heart. It was hard to say whether Lu Fei was nimble with her hands, but the power of the calluses on her hands was really not to be underestimated. Standing up, Qin Guang prepared to leave. Zhuo Jingxi said, Wait a minute. There's something I have to tell you. I called you here today mainly for this matter. Yesterday's competition? Okay, it was also one of the main reasons, so I won't be so stubborn. Qin Guang asked curiously, what's the matter? Zhuo Jingxi was about to say it out loud when her office door was suddenly pushed open. A middle-aged fat man with a red face walked in from outside. Qin Guang recognized him. This fat man was the dean of the academy's discipline department, Wang Ren. Regarding this grandson, the rumors and stories in the entire academy added up could almost be written into a social realistic novel that was 1 to 200,000 words long. If it was not necessary, Qin Guang really did not want to see him. He did not expect to bump into him in Teacher Zhuo's office. Xiao Zhuo, come to my office. I have something to tell you. Fatty Wang first scanned Zhuo Jingxi's office suspiciously. He stared at Qin Guang for a long time until he saw the medicine box on the table and the bandages on Qin Guang's hands. Only then did he show a look of relief and continued, Xiao Zhuo, what's wrong with this student of yours? Did he get into a fight? Qin Guang was about to open his mouth to scold this grandson. You're the one who got into a fight. Your whole family got into a fight. However, Zhuo Jingxi suddenly blocked in front of him. She quietly stretched one hand behind her back and desperately gestured to Qin Guang. On her face, however, she squeezed out a smile for Fatty Wang. Director Wang, my student acted bravely at the scene of the car accident yesterday and accidentally injured his hand. I just finished wrapping it up for him. Fatty Wang was just saying it casually. Hearing Zhuo Jingxi's explanation, although it was not very believable, he still had other plans today. There was no need to harp on this matter. He could only keep a straight face. All right, I'll wait for you in my office. With that, he left. Zhuo Jingxi turned her head and glanced at Qin Guang. I'm going to Director Wang's office. Wait for me for a few minutes. Don't bother with him. I'm afraid you guys know his reputation better than I do. Qin Guang sat on the metal chair in Zhuo Jingxi's office. It's not that I want to brag to you, but don't be fooled by his fat appearance. If he dares to say another cheap word, I'll only need 10 seconds to beat him up. What kind of bad temper is this? And you're still a student? If you continue like this, I'll call your parents. Zhuo Jingxi, who was about to open the door and leave, heard that and stomped back. Finally, she put on the airs of a teacher. She put her hands on her hips and spoke to Qin Guang in a condescending manner, spittle flying everywhere. On the other side, Fatty Wang started to rush her again. Zhuo Jingxi did not dare to delay. She only gave one more order and turned to leave. Qin Guang wiped his face. Fortunately, Teacher Zhuo's breath was fragrant. It was just that Fatty Wang. There was something fishy going on. This did not require a man's intuition. In such a big school, there were too many people who knew what kind of person Fatty Wang, this grandson, was. Qin Guang did not want to see him because he was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and want to beat him up. He did not brag to Zhuo Jingxi. Among the students in Qin Guang's batch, there were probably many who had the same idea as him. Once they got their graduation certificates, they would go and block Fatty Wang's way at night. Chapter 117. Everyone didn't hate Wang Ren, but they hated him. Regarding his past, it was one thing for Wang Ren to be a sharp and unkind person, always nitpicking. After all, in this world, there weren't many head of student affairs who were well liked by the students. This was simply a position that was born to be hated. But this was still not the most hated and reviled thing about Wang Ren. Qin Guang was certain that in the entire country, Wang Ren's hatred could be ranked in the top 3 of all the heads of student affairs. Rumor had it that he seemed to have some connections with the higher-ups of the school. Even though he didn't have any academic qualifications, he had entered the school many years ago and became an administrative staff, slowly climbing his way up to the position of the head of student affairs. In the student community, the deepest impression of Wang Ren wasn't his harshness, but his lust. From time to time, there would be rumors of him entering the school early in the morning with someone, or someone hooking up with him in a corner. Sometimes it was a young female teacher and sometimes it was a student. Other than that, this fellow also had a way of making money. In the past few years, there were others in his class who had given Wang Ren tens of thousands of yuan. Just in Qin Guang's class, there was more than one such person, not to mention the dozens of classes in the entire academy. His reason for asking for money was simple, but it was actually embarrassing. The head of student affairs was in charge of the final step in dealing with cheating in the entire academy. If he suppressed it, it would be an internal matter of the academy and it would be easy to deal with. Whether it was a demerit or a warning, it was all within the scope of control. When the time was up, or if it was related, the punishment could be removed in advance and no stain would be left. Other than the taboo method of cheating, such as substituting for an examiner, Wang Ren had the right to directly intervene. In his hands, the same incident of cheating could have a big or small impact, and the punishment could be light or heavy. Could even be nothing. However, once it was reported by him, even if it was just a finger-sized slip of paper during an examination, he could make it a serious violation of the rules and record a demerit. There was no clear standard for dealing with cheating in the first place. Even if you only brought a small slip of paper, Wang Ren could say that when you were caught red-handed, your attitude was extremely bad, you talked back to a teacher and you didn't repent. This was a heavy punishment. The black and white of the matter were in his mouth. Once the school's punishment was imposed, it wouldn't be easy to get rid of it. Even if the punishment could be removed, the school would still conduct an inspection process. Unfortunately, the inspection authority was still in Wang Ren's hands. As for changing exam papers, it was even more likely to result in immediate expulsion. But what was strange was that no matter how many people privately spread rumors about Wang Ren's dirty and scandalous deeds, there were even a number of people who sent anonymous reports to the school leader's mailbox. However, he was like a roly-poly doll, still standing tall in his position as the dean of the academy's student affairs department, happily using his relatives to support him, counting his money, sleeping with his or other people's women. He had too many things to deal with, but what really made Qin Guang hate him so much was not the above, but the incident that happened in the academy last year. There was a girl from the countryside. Her family was very poor, but her grades were very good. She was also very motivated. Although she was not particularly beautiful, she belonged to the kind of cute and obedient type. She was quite popular in the academy. But later she seemed to have been caught helping someone cheat. She seemed to have been handing someone a note. After that, she did not receive any serious punishment, but she broke up with her boyfriend. The matter was quiet for a few days, until her boyfriend finally revealed the matter to the entire academy. This girl indeed had been slept with. She had not seen much of the world and was not calm enough. That night, her boyfriend could not get through to her phone, and the next day he fiercely questioned her. She thought that the man she deeply loved would forgive her, and would understand her pain and difficulties. She admitted most of the matter, but firmly denied that it was Wang Ren who did it, because she was afraid that the boy would impulsively kill Wang Ren. She also remembered Wang Ren's words when he threatened her, and even tried to link the possibility to all the leaders she could think of. The girl hoped that her boyfriend would understand. Unfortunately, a man's dignity was not so easy to erase, and the two broke up at lightning speed. The depression in the boy's heart accumulated day by day, until he could not help but expose the matter on the school forum. In an instant the matter blew up. All the students in the school were discussing the matter. As the victim, no matter where she went, people would point fingers at her. Although the school reacted quickly and used the fastest speed to completely erase the matter from the school forum, it could not change the fact that the girl's reputation was completely ruined. Then the girl dropped out of school and returned home. Later, it seemed that the matter also spread in her hometown. After that, the girl drank an entire bottle of pesticide in her hometown and passed away. In the end, the boy was beaten up very badly. Many people felt that this guy had gone too far, and that he had to bear a lot of responsibility for the girl's death. From time to time, the boy in the academy and other academies would take turns to teach this bastard a lesson. Qin Guang and the others had also beaten him up, and in the end the boy also dropped out of school. From the beginning to the end, the girl had never admitted that this matter had anything to do with Wang Ren, although everyone knew that the real murderer was most likely Wang Ren. However, the girl had chosen the weakest and most humiliating way to deal with the matter. She had even decisively ended her own life, bringing the final truth to the bottom of the earth. No one knew what kind of threat she had received, but to her, it seemed that revenge would not change her only choice, and that was death. No matter how suspicious people were, there was no evidence, so the matter was left unsettled. No matter how lively the matter was, it would eventually be erased by time. Wang Ren was still the same Wang Ren, still the arrogant head of the discipline department, but he seemed to be a little more restrained. Recently, he did not collect money, and there seemed to be no more rumors about him with any girls. Not many people knew about the story between him and the female teacher. As long as he did his job well, it would not be so easy for people to find out. The reason why Qin Guang did not like Wang Ren so much was not because he had any feelings for the girl back then. He did not even say a word to the girl from the same academy. It was purely because he felt that it was unfair. However, in the end there was no evidence. Although Qin Guang was unhappy, he still had his own life. Before he could manage the world, he had to manage himself first. It was what happened today that brought back Qin Guang's fading memory of that scumbag Fatty Wang. Just now, before Zhuo Jingxi went out, she briefly showed a hazy expression, but it did not escape Qin Guang's sharp and penetrating eyes. Could it be that after a year, this bastard had begun to rise from the ashes again? Was he starting to get cocky again? What did he want to talk to Teacher Zhuo about? Why did Teacher Zhuo have that kind of expression? Something was wrong. Just as he was worrying, after a few minutes, Zhuo Jingxi came back with a livid face. Her face was so dark that it could drip water, and it was extremely ugly. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat, and he could not help but ask, "Teacher Zhuo, what's wrong? What did Fatty Wang say?" Chapter 118. Zhuo Jingxi's face showed a look of distress. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped. Finally she shook her head. "It's nothing. Don't ask too much." Qin Guang was even more suspicious. He thought to himself, "Sis, your acting skills are as bad as mine. If I'm fooled by you, then am I, Qin Guang, still a normal person?" "Teacher Zhuo, didn't you just tell me that there was something else?" Qin Guang knew that she probably wouldn't say it if he asked her directly, so he deliberately changed the topic. When she was caught off guard, it would definitely be effective. Zhuo Jingxi nodded. She picked up the cup on the desk and drank some water. She calmed down and said, "I almost forgot if you didn't mention it. It's like this. I know about your family's situation. For the past 6 months you've been a student, studying and earning money. It's really hard on you." Qin Guang shook his head. "There's nothing hard about it. Every family has its own problems. Many people at my age are already working on construction sites. Compared to them, I'm nothing." Zhuo Jingxi was amused by his carefree manner. She slightly forgot about the unhappiness in Fatty Wang's office. "You're quite open-minded." Shrugging his shoulders, Qin Guang replied, "That's life. How can everything go as one wishes?" Zhuo Jingxi couldn't help but pat his shoulder. "You're young, but you have quite a lot of philosophy." Qin Guang chuckled. "Teacher Zhuo, you're only a few years older than me. This life, it's like being—" "Stop. You stop right there. You don't have to say the rest of the sentence. I know how you little boys talk. I've led you astray again. It's like this. Considering your family's special situation, I plan to reserve the first-class scholarship for the next semester, which is your senior year. It's a lot of money. It's a whole 10,000. Zhuo Jingxi exclaimed in her heart that it was a close shave. She had almost been led into a ditch by this brat. Fortunately, she was on guard. It would not be so easy to take advantage of her teacher verbally. She had completely forgotten that when she and Qin Guang were tugging at each other just now, he had taken all the advantages, let alone taking advantage of her verbally. On the other hand, Qin Guang was in a difficult position. The scholarship had nothing to do with him, the king of truancy. Teacher Zhuo, as far as I know, there are only 5 first-class scholarships in our entire third year, but there are a total of 14 classes in the same year. This isn't something that I can get just because I want to, right? I think we should just forget about it. Qin Guang beat the drum of retreat loudly. It was not that he did not love money, but he knew how difficult this matter was. Zhuo Jingxi put on a straight face as if she had already seen through him. Come on, I know you don't like to study. But at the end of the term, you have to do well on your exams. As long as you can get more than 85 points in every subject, I will snatch this first-class scholarship back for you even if I have to. That's settled then. Oh, right, you guys are about to take the CET4 exam, right? You have to pass the CET4 exam. If you want a sports car to earn money, I won't interfere with this matter, but you can't fall behind in your studies. There are so many people in the class, so I will only apply for your first-class scholarship. Do as you see fit. Qin Guang's eyes widened. Big sister, without saying a word, you just pushed me into the fire. The old man went to be the god of racing instructor and earned 100,000 a day. For your 10,000, I have to drag every subject from barely passing to above 85 points. This investment and output are not proportional at all. To be honest, Teacher Zhuo, this is a bit difficult. I'm afraid I can't do it. I will definitely pass the CET4 exam, but just getting 85 points in every subject is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Qin Guang said truthfully. Zhuo Jingxi's pair of beautiful eyes shone as she looked at him. Aren't you quite capable? Why are you giving up before you even try? This is different from the Qin Guang I know. Qin Guang sighed. Do you know the sorrow of a bad student? How can you understand the loneliness of a bad student? Don't give me that bullshit. All right, you are the famous Qin Hui in our school who kneels in front of the CET4 exam. How can you suddenly guarantee that you will pass the CET4 exam? Zhuo Jingxi was curious about this matter because it reminded her of what that damn fatty Wang Ren said just now and gave her another headache. Qin Guang's mouth was wide open. Damn it, when did I become the Qin Hui who kneels in front of me? Which immoral son of a bitch gave me this nickname? Bai Nyangzi, who was lying in bed sleeping, sneezed violently. His snot shot straight into the wall like a bullet. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a new light. Anyway, I can swear to the heavens that if I don't pass the CET4 exam this time, I will go to Mount Zhongnan to be a Taoist priest. All right, you really have to be careful of that bastard Wang Ren. He's so cheap. If he dares to make any unreasonable requests of you, don't be afraid. Tell me and I will bring the whole class, no, the whole school to support you. I don't believe that guy can overturn the heavens. As Qin Guang spoke, he suddenly changed the topic to Wang Ren. Teacher Zhuo, tell me, what did he do to you just now? We know that bastard's tricks. When Zhuo Jingxi heard this, her heart was moved. She finally relented and told him what happened. What? That bastard? Isn't he making things difficult for me? How could he do that? I'll go beat him up. After listening to Zhuo Jingxi's story, Qin Guang propped himself up from the chair, slammed the table, and pretended to go to Fatty Wang's office. Zhuo Jingxi hurriedly pulled him from behind. Don't mess around. If I knew you were so impulsive, I wouldn't have told you. Although this is troublesome, it's also an opportunity. Qin Guang stopped in his tracks. I just slapped his right hand. Don't worry about the details, just smash the can. Teacher Zhuo, you really think highly of our classmates. How is this an opportunity? We're only third-year students, and he actually wants you to bring us to have an academic exchange with a student group from MIT? Yes, the other party is also an undergraduate student like us. But how can this be the same? What kind of school is that? MIT? Besides, in our entire class, there isn't a single person who can communicate fluently in English, right? Not to mention this kind of academic exchange with professional jargon? Isn't this making things difficult for us? How are we supposed to communicate with others? With Qin Guang's temper, he had even forgotten about this hidden expert of his. Zhuo Jingxi sighed but did not say anything. This bastard, he even said that all of our class signed up for the school sports. What kind of positive collective performance is this? What kind of academic exchange opportunity was specially assigned to our class? This is pure nonsense. He's making things difficult for you, Teacher Zhua. He wants to make you fall. Qin Guang slammed the table again, but this time he used his left hand. How could I fall twice in the same pit? Chapter 119. Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was excited again and quickly said, Qin Guang, calm down. Forget it, the matter has already been settled, and the leaders have already agreed. What else can I say? I'll just bite the bullet and do it. Seeing her like this, Qin Guang was helpless. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. If it was before today, he wouldn't have cared so much about Zhuo Jingxi. However, now that he had taken advantage of her, he felt that this teacher was really a good person. She was gentle and considerate to him, and she even wanted to help him get a scholarship. Just now he had made her cry and he felt that he owed her. Now that Qin Guang had personally witnessed Wang Ren's underhanded move, it wasn't hard for him to figure out the ins and outs of this matter when he recalled the fatty's vicious reputation. That grandson must have seen that Zhuo Jingxi was a bit eager for success at work, so he planned to use his position and power to threaten Teacher Zhua and try to make her submit. To put it bluntly, he wanted to use the unspoken rules. After killing that girl, this guy had restrained himself for a whole year, and now he finally couldn't hold it in anymore? It was no wonder. After all, Zhuo Jingxi was indeed a bit too beautiful. In addition, she was a new counselor who had just graduated and was very addicted to being an official at work, eager to achieve results. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. With Wang Ren's audacity, of course he would be tempted and take action. I'm going to take care of this. Fatty Wang, you can jump all you want. One day, I'll beat you up so badly that your whole family won't recognize you. Qin Guang still didn't know what would happen in the future, but he really couldn't run away from today's matter. Thinking that Zhuo Jingxi was about to suffer a big loss, the more Qin Guang thought about it, the angrier he got. Finally, he glared angrily. The other party is a world-famous top university. How can they send a small fry to our country? We've messed things up and we're going to embarrass ourselves internationally. This should at least be the graduate school's business. It's not too much to send a PhD student for an exchange. If he sends you to our class, he'll be hoping that you'll embarrass yourself and mess up the academic exchange with MIT. It'll be a huge disaster for you as a counselor. Zhuo Jingxi finally opened her mouth and sighed. Sigh, it is indeed so. But what could I do? Sun Xiaoxuan is the one with the best English scores in the class, right? I've talked to her before. She has no problem with simple daily conversations, but in an academic exchange, her level is far lower. Even I am not qualified to do so. Moreover, there is no reason for me, a teacher, to be responsible for the entire academic exchange between students. After she finished speaking, she frowned again. From the moment Wang Ren announced this matter in front of her, the outcome was more or less determined. It would definitely be messed up, and her image in the eyes of the academy's leaders would definitely take a nosedive. Teacher Zhua, I'm afraid this matter isn't that simple, right? Wang Ren wouldn't cause trouble for you for no reason. Tell me the truth, did he threaten you before? Qin Guang finally asked about this matter, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. Zhuo Jingxi turned her face away, unwilling to talk more. No, Qin Guang's face darkened. It's useless even if you don't admit it. I can guess it. Everyone can guess it. Fatty Wang is that kind of person. Teacher Zhua, you're muddle-headed. Your avoidance and forbearance reminds me of someone. Don't tell me you don't know what happened to that girl last year? Zhuo Jingxi's body trembled, but she still didn't turn her face away. She only nodded slightly. Yes, I know. Qin Guang felt a sense of sorrow for her misfortune and anger at her lack of ambition. He was secretly glad that he hadn't misjudged her. Although Zhuo Jingxi was addicted to being an official, she didn't lose her principles. Otherwise this wouldn't have happened. Forbearance will only make this kind of evil person take a mile after taking an inch. It will only make him crazier. Do you think that if you reject him once, there won't be a second time? A third time? Sooner or later you'll be forced into a dead end by him. When that time comes, what will you do? Qin Guang said as he carefully looked at Zhuo Jingxi's face from the side. Unexpectedly, the struggle on Zhuo Jingxi's face only lasted for a few seconds. What replaced it was a sense of relief. She laughed. If it really has to be like that, I'll just quit being a counselor. Do you think I'll be taken advantage of by Fatty Wang? As she spoke, she laughed out loud as if she had really let go of a knot in her heart. Qin Guang also laughed. See, you still won't admit it? I understand even if you don't say it. I didn't say anything. Sai, don't do anything stupid. Although it hurts me to lose my job, you're different from me. You're still a student. If you get expelled from school, it will ruin your life. Zhuo Jingxi started to worry for Qin Guang again. Qin Guang shook his head. Of course. Don't worry, I'm not stupid. But I, Qin Guang, will never suffer such losses. We don't know what other dirty tricks he has up his sleeve and we can't care about it. Of course, I won't suffer such losses, and I can't be such a despicable person. But for this academic exchange, you don't have to worry at all. Qin Guang will support you. Yi Wangren can never have his way. I can't watch the tragedy repeat itself. Old Master Qin Guang finally thought of something. Damn, I'm a little stupid. How could I forget such an important thing? It's just an academic exchange with international friends. What's the big deal? The old man was the King of English who had been on the An Royal with a medieval European accent for 20 years. Now, when I open my mouth, it's full of gentlemanly medieval English. Even this king can't pronounce it like a normal American. Let me ask, who in this world has a more standard, more noble and more elegant English than the old man? At that time, when the old man opens his mouth, with his classical gentlemanly accent, wouldn't that shock the group of Americans? Do I still need to worry about this? This king will personally do it. Cure the disease. The more Qin Guang thought about it, the more excited he became. Especially when he thought about how his lousy English was famous in the hearts of the entire class. At that time he would fiercely blast it out in front of the entire class. It would definitely blind everyone's corium or dog eyes. Anyway, he would be able to scare everyone silly, especially by Nyangzi and Lin Jingwei, these two scumbags who passed the 4th level in their first year. Thinking back to the past 3 years, these two scumbags would occasionally joke about his 4th level. Qin Guang felt like crying. What he hated the most was something Bai Nyangzi once said. Brother Guang, the registration fee is 30 yuan per semester, but you've already wasted 150 yuan. I say, why don't you treat us to a meal? At least after we eat, we can still fart out of our buttocks and smell it even if it's smelly. What kind of evil was that? How hurtful was this? Unfortunately, I have nothing to say in response. However, this time, I want to have a change of fortune. In the past you ignored me, but now you can't even reach me. You bastards. Just wait to be subdued by the old man's shocking medieval gentlemanly accent. Therefore, Wang Rin stirring up this mess was really an opportunity for him. Not only was it an opportunity for teacher Zhuo to earn his work performance, but it was also an opportunity for me, the King of English, Qin Guang, to shock the world. Mortals, kneel. Chapter 120. The more Qin Guang thought about it, the more excited he became. His body couldn't stop trembling. Zhuo Jingxi looked at him in horror, as if she was looking at a lunatic. Oh no, he's crazy. He's sick, very sick. She had already quietly reached for her phone. No, I have to call 120 first to calm myself. No, I should contact the mental hospital directly. 120 may not be able to subdue him. Qin Guang was lost in his endless reverie when he suddenly felt that there was something wrong with Zhuo Jingxi's gaze. He retracted his soul and saw that her finger was already on her phone. There were 3 huge numbers on it, 120. Teacher Zhuo. What do you mean by this? Don't tell me you're questioning my strength? That's too much. Qin Guang looked at Zhuo Jingxi with a rather resentful gaze. I wanted to help you out and save your life, and this is how you repay me? It's 120 and not 110. I really should thank you. Zhuo Jingxi silently put away her phone, then stood up, expressionlessly took out a folder from the file cabinet behind her, flipped it open and took out 5 pieces of paper. She spread them out on the table and arranged them neatly just like playing cards. Qin Guang turned his head and looked. Damn, isn't this the registration form for the past 5 times I've applied for the CET4 exam? Why is it so precious and kept in the counselor's file cabinet? Teacher Shin. Heavenly states. Oh no, the recuperating teacher Shin, what kind of bad taste do you have? I've respected you so much in the past. I didn't expect you to be such a counselor. You've really disappointed me. Zhuo Jingxi didn't say much. She still looked at Qin Guang with a pair of dead fish eyes. After a long time, she faintly spat out 2 words, Qin Hui. Oh my, it's here. It's this shameful nickname of one-hit kill, again. The one kneeling in Lin and City was Qin Hui's treacherous image, but the old man was a real man who was about to soar in front of the CET4 exam. How could they be compared? Teacher Zhuo, let me tell you, I'm not bragging. After half a semester of hard work, my current English level, let alone CET4, even if you asked me to be a simultaneous translator, I wouldn't even stutter. The academic exchange this time really belongs to me. As long as I'm here, there won't be a problem. The other party is also an undergraduate student, so his professional knowledge won't be too strong. It's a competition of oral English. Qin Guang's head hurt like hell. I'm obviously telling the truth, real gold and silver, why don't you believe me? Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was so resolute, and she couldn't help but start to doubt. Could it be that the rumors were wrong? Was he really one of those rare geniuses? It was just that he was usually lazy, and once he was forced to a dead end, he took it seriously and his learning ability was off the charts? Forget it. Anyway, there was no one else I could count on now. It seemed like I could really treat a dead horse as a living one. I could count on him and test his skills first. That's fine. I'll just randomly pick a word. Can you read it and explain it to me? As Zhuo Jingxi spoke, she flipped open a professional English magazine on her desk. She randomly flipped to a page and pointed at a word on it. Although Zhuo Jingxi was a counselor and didn't care about the specific courses, she was also a graduate of Jinhuan College and was still studying for her PhD. The random book she picked up was really a new international professional thesis collection. Qin Guang was disdainful. What a joke. She actually used the weakest method of recognizing words to test me. She's looking down on me, isn't she? Thinking back, the old man was the man who wrote thousands of love letters to Captain Annie. With an insufferably arrogant aura, Qin Guang said heavily, "Of course, there's no problem." Then he turned his gaze to Zhuo Jingxi's fingertips. What the F***CK? What is this? I know every single letter, but why do they look so unfamiliar when put together? I don't know. I choose death. He couldn't be blamed. After a rough count, the word that Zhuo Jingxi pointed at had nearly 20 letters. It was indeed a combination of terms that often appeared in professional English. But as pirates, we have never used this kind of word. Qin Guang was really annoyed this time. His face was red. Zhuo Jingxi sighed. Sigh, I almost believed it. She was also indescribably disappointed. Anyway, this time she was going to be harmed by Wang Ren, right? At this moment, Qin Guang grew anxious. This won't do. I must redeem my image. He quickly picked up another magazine and carefully looked at the cover. Fortunately, it was not that professional. Teacher Zhuo, I'll read this paragraph to you. You'll understand immediately. I'm just lacking in vocabulary, but with my current feeling of English, it'll only take a few days. I'll just need to cram a little. After saying that, he really began to read. About 15 minutes later, Zhuo Jingxi's mouth was wide open. She looked at Qin Guang as if she had seen a ghost. She was also a graduate student and a doctoral student at the university. Her English was indeed not bad. It was just that her participation in academic discussions was passable, but her listening, reading, and writing skills were far above the average level. But she had to admit that she was stunned by Qin Guang's medieval accent. If she hadn't seen the little boy in front of her, Zhuo Jingxi would have thought that the person who had read the entire document perfectly was an aristocrat from England. She couldn't tell where Qin Guang's accent came from. She only knew that it made her feel especially comfortable. Even the school radio announcer couldn't compare to Qin Guang's standard and lingering accent. You, where the hell did you learn this from? Even Jin Dongfang's teacher can't compare to you, right? Zhuo Jingxi's own accent was practiced at Jin Dongfang. As she spoke, she compared it in her memory and came to a conclusion. Her teacher at Jin Dongfang was far inferior compared to Qin Guang. That was the difference between the light of a grain of rice and the brilliance of the sun and the moon. Qin Guang secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He was scared to death. Fortunately, there weren't any unfamiliar words in the document. He took out the state he was in when he was reading a love letter to Captain Annie. At the critical moment, he reined in his horse at the precipice and redeemed his image. Therefore, he very suavely turned his head and posed at a 45-degree angle to the sky. Then he slowly turned his face and smiled at Zhuo Jingxi. How is it? Teacher Zhuo, my English is passable, right? I'm really just lacking a little vocabulary. I'll go back and memorize the professional vocabulary. Then you guys can prepare the thesis in advance. It'll be a cinch to deal with this academic exchange. Zhuo Jingxi's head nodded like a chick pecking rice. Passable. Of course it's passable. Then? We're done? Qin Guang asked. Zhuo Jingxi nodded fiercely. Done. After saying this, her face suddenly turned red. She could hear the trap in Qin Guang's words. She didn't know what to think, but she just glanced at Qin Guang from the corner of her eyes. Then she stuck out her finger and tapped on Qin Guang's forehead. You brat, it's impossible to guard against you. Qin Guang just chuckled non-stop. Chapter 121. Just as the two of them settled the matter, the office door was pushed open again. It was that damn fatty again. This bastard didn't seem to have the thought of knocking before entering. When he saw that Qin Guang was still there, the slightly joyful expression on his face disappeared and his brows furrowed again. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. What's wrong with this student? Why is he still haunting me? What an eyesore. He originally wanted to say something but he held it in and didn't say it out loud. Zhuo Jingxi was chatting happily with Qin Guang just a moment ago, but when she saw Fatty Wang, the smile on her face disappeared. She couldn't fall out with Fatty Wang after all, so she tidied up her clothes that were messed up when she teased Qin Guang and stood at the office door. Director Wang, do you have any other instructions? Fatty Wang paused and decided to say it out loud. Little Zhuo, this academic exchange with MIT is very important to the school. I hope you can prepare well and don't let the school leaders down. If you don't do well, it will directly affect your performance evaluation this semester. Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed. Wang Ren sounded like he was encouraging her, but it was clearly a threat. If it was before, she was afraid that she would really explode from Fatty Wang's words. She might even pick up the Oxford Dictionary beside the desk and slap him in the face. But now she first looked at Qin Guang and calmed down. She immediately said in a powerful voice, "Thank you for your concern, Director Wang. I also thank the school leaders and Director Wang for giving me this opportunity. Zhuo Jingxi will definitely not let you down." Wang Ren was stunned. Zhuo Jingxi's behavior was different from what he had imagined before he came. When she left my office just now, didn't she look like she wanted to strangle me to death? Why did she suddenly look like she was given a shot of adrenaline in the blink of an eye after only a few minutes? Could it be that it had something to do with this guy? Wang Ren didn't really understand the situation, so he replied in a muffled voice, "Since you're confident, of course it's a good thing. However, if something really happens, don't worry, I'll be there for you." Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed. How could she not understand his unspoken words? However, this was not what she was most worried about. She only thought that Qin Guang understood everything, yet this damn fatty actually said such dirty words in front of Qin Guang. This brat couldn't possibly, what? He had already gone up. This son of AB** starred actually dared to speak in such a strange manner in front of me. I can't stand it. Fatty Wang. What's wrong? It's been a year and you're starting to get cocky again? Qin Guang stood in front of Wang Ren, standing between the fatty and Zhuo Jingxi. He crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Wang Ren coldly. What did you say? How could Wang Ren have known that Zhuo Jingxi had told her student almost everything? She had thought that her words were very vague, but in the end she had caught Qin Guang off guard. Qin Guang snorted. I say, Fatty Wang, your dog's tail. Why is it cocky again? You. At this moment, Wang Ren was still looking at the student in front of him as a member of the academy's management. Who would have thought that the other party would be so unreasonable? For a moment he was so angry that he couldn't speak. His finger trembled as he wanted to point at Qin Guang. However, he felt weak from Qin Guang's ferocious glare. Wang Ren subconsciously turned his head and suddenly saw the freshly bandaged wound on the student's hand. His gaze lingered on the butterfly knot for a few seconds and his pupils shrank. He seemed to have realized something, but he didn't rush to speak. Instead, he looked at Zhuo Jingxi with a very playful gaze. So that's how it is. Zhuo Jingxi knew what he was thinking about, but there was no need to explain this kind of thing to him. Let him think what he wanted. Little Zhuo, you're quite clever. Your teacher-student relationship is pretty good, Wang Ren said in a strange tone, but he deliberately avoided a direct confrontation with Qin Guang. Zhuo Jingxi's face turned red, but she didn't know how to respond to his words. Qin Guang stood up. Damn fatty, no matter how clever Teacher Zhuo is, he can't be compared to your pitch-black 7 orifices exquisite heart, right? Teacher-student relationship? You have the cheek to say that? Qin Guang said Fatty Wang every time he opened his mouth and called him damn fatty. He even tore open his scars in front of him. Wang Ren wasn't a good-tempered person. That little bit of patience he had vanished in an instant. His face fell in an instant, and he glared angrily at Qin Guang. What's your name? What kind of attitude is this to a teacher? Wang Ren said fiercely. Zhuo Jingxi, keep your student in check. Zhuo Jingxi was about to come forward and stop Qin Guang, but Qin Guang took another step forward and waved his hand in front of Fatty Wang's face. Of course I respect ordinary teachers. But you're Fatty Wang Ren. Everyone knows it, so I won't beat around the bush. Today I'll throw out the ugly words in front of you. Don't think that no one in this world can control you. You're just a little bigger than a fart, the dean of the discipline department. You don't have the qualifications or the means to cover the sky with one hand, Wang Ren clearly understood the meaning behind Qin Guang's words. He couldn't help but sneer. This Zhuo Jingxi was also stupid. Could it be that she was counting on this student to stand up for her? Even if you know something, you won't be able to stop anything. Don't be unreasonable here, you brat. Even if you really manage to get your hands on this girl Zhuo Jingxi, the most you can do is help me develop her a little more. That would save me the trouble when the time comes. Do you really think that you can be fearless in this world just because you have a big temper? You can't change anything. Just you wait, your teacher Zhuo will obediently climb into my bed sooner or later, and you won't be able to do anything about it. Not only that, I won't let you off, brat. In this school, I can really cover the sky with one hand when dealing with a troublesome student like you. I'll find out your name, you brat. Just you wait. Our school doesn't need students like you who don't know how to respect their teachers. Wang Ren stretched out his finger and pointed at Qin Guang's head. Qin Guang suddenly stretched out his hand without a sound, pinched his finger and forcefully twisted it back. Wang Ren cried out in pain, "Let go! Let go of me!" Zhuo Jingxi was also frightened. She really didn't expect that Qin Guang would actually dare to make a move on Wang Ren without saying a word. Who the F***ck is wasting time with you? So what if I tell you my name? My name is Qin Guang. If you really have the ability, why don't you let me go now? What reason do you use? Did I call you Fatty Wang? Damn fatty? Did I pinch your finger? That's right, you're very precious, our school's national treasure. Why don't you let me go? Qin Guang was still pinching Fatty Wang's hand. Zhuo Jingxi, who was beside him, was very anxious. She wanted to pull Qin Guang's hand away, but she realized that this brat was actually using his injured right hand. She didn't dare to use too much force and only said, "Qin Guang, that's enough. That's enough. Don't use any more force." Wang Ren kept pulling his hand down, trying to break free. Qin Guang loosened his hand, causing Wang Ren to almost fall. Chapter 122. Wang Ren stood up. He initially wanted to say something harsh, but the pain on his fingers still hasn't disappeared. Although Qin Guang didn't look robust, his ferocious appearance made Wang Ren feel guilty. So Wang Ren held back his words and walked 2 steps away before turning back. "Just you wait. Just you wait." Qin Guang chuckled. "And I'll wait. You wait too." When Fatty Wang finally walked far away, Zhuo Jingxi slammed the office door shut. She turned around and fiercely pulled Qin Guang's shoulder. She said angrily, "What the hell are you thinking? Didn't I tell you not to do anything stupid? Why did you offend him so directly? Even if he can't do anything to you this time, what will you do if he picks on you in the future? He is the dean of the school's discipline department. If he really wants to punish a student, who can stop him? Why are you so naive and impulsive? You're really going to piss me off." Qin Guang did not care and shrugged. Instead, he smiled lightly and patted Zhuo Jingxi's head. "Teacher Zhuo, you're naive. It's not me, it's you." She did not expect this little brat to suddenly make such an intimate move and even put on a mature and prudent look. He was completely different from the person he was just now. Zhuo Jingxi was stunned for a few seconds before she regained her senses. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Qin Guang sat down again and first checked the bandage on his right hand. After confirming that there was no blood seeping out, he said, "Teacher Zhuo, what do you think Fatty Wang's purpose in making things difficult for you?" Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was really serious and calmed down a little. She wanted to see what he could say, but she was really embarrassed to answer his question. "If you're embarrassed to say it, then I won't point it out. But we both understand. But what if, when that day comes, I jump out and mess up what he thought was in the bag? Tell me, who do you think he hates the most?" Qin Guang said as he pointed at his own face. Zhuo Jingxi's mouth was wide open. After a while she said, "It's really you." "That's right. He's petty, insidious, and vicious. I've ruined his plans, so he must hate me to the core. So, regardless of what happened just now, the grudge between me and Fatty Wang has been sown the moment I decided to help you. Since that's the case, why should I swallow my anger in front of him? Don't you understand what I've told you before? If wolves and hungry tigers want to eat your flesh, even if you kneel down and beg them, they will still rush up and bite you to death." Zhuo Jingxi was completely stunned. Qin Guang's words were like a huge rock smashing into her heart. In fact, she really didn't think that much before. She just felt happy. A matter that could have ruined her career actually happened to be solved by her student. She was only excited and grateful, but she didn't realize that this student's seemingly casual decision hid great courage and determination. "Qin Guang, I'm sorry. I dragged you into this. Otherwise, let's just forget about it. Sigh. Zhuo Jingxi turned her face away. She was indeed ashamed. In front of this student, it was her teacher who acted so immature and naive. She didn't know what was in this kid's head. He was so young, but how could he think so clearly? Qin Guang stood up and moved in front of Zhuo Jingxi. He reached out his hand to comfort her. Teacher Zhuo, you're in the wrong. What's there to drag? Before your identity as a student, Qin Guang, was a man first. This is called helping when one sees injustice. Don't give up. I've already stood up for it. How can I back out now? What's more, you're so pretty, you have a good figure, and you're gentle to me. How can I bear to watch you walk into a tiger's mouth? Of course, Qin Guang wouldn't say the second half of his words. At this time his image was shining. Zhuo Jingxi hummed softly. Her heart was indescribably touched. Qin Guang sighed again. Teacher Zhuo, you don't know. What happened last year is really the last thing that all the boys in our academy want to think about. Even without you, I still don't have a good temper with Fatty Wang. Zhuo Jingxi didn't know what to say. She only sighed. Sigh. Don't make wild guesses without evidence. Qin Guang only smiled coldly. Of course, if there was evidence, would he be able to stay here comfortably? However, justice has long arms. He was well behaved for a whole year, and now he's inflated again. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. As long as he gives himself away, he'll be in trouble sooner or later. He didn't have a chance in the past, but as long as there's a chance, whether it's me or any boy with a sense of justice in the academy, will want to personally avenge that girl. Zhuo Jingxi hummed again, but she was still worried for Qin Guang. Alright, come, Teacher Zhuo. Smile for me. Didn't Fatty Wang think wrongly just now? Why don't we just make it real? Otherwise, I'll be at a big disadvantage. It's not worth it. Seeing that she was still gloomy, Qin Guang chuckled and suddenly reached out his hand toward Zhuo Jingxi's fair and delicate face. Zhuo Jingxi didn't expect this guy, who was a saint just now, to suddenly turn into a hooligan. She quickly blocked his hand. You're not serious. How dare you take advantage of me? Qin Guang had a wretched smile on his face. How is this taking advantage of me? This is called acting. That's right, I haven't come out of acting yet. He laughed strangely and suddenly slapped Zhuo Jingxi's beautiful butt. Then, without waiting for her reaction, he opened the door and ran out. Class is almost starting. I'm going to the academic building. Zhuo Jingxi was extremely embarrassed and chased after him from the office. Qin Guang, you, but she couldn't scold him in the end. There was still a burning sensation on her butt and her face was boiling hot. This guy. His sneak attack was successful. Zhuo Jingxi stomped her feet angrily. Only then did she realize that her current state would cause others to misunderstand her. She quickly covered her face and returned to the office. She closed the door and leaned her back against it. She realized that her heart was beating very fast and her breathing was a little erratic. But what made her even more panicked was that she wasn't angry at all. Zhuo Jingxi didn't know that her behavior just now had indeed fallen into the eyes of someone with ulterior motives. Wang Ren's office was in the inner part of the school building. It was directly facing Zhuo Jingxi. Ever since this guy returned to his office, he had been quietly watching from the gap in his curtains. He saw Qin Guang run out with a wretched smile and Zhuo Jingxi chase after him with a blushing face. He was even more convinced of his guess. These two people really had an affair. You slut. You're as tough as a saint in front of me. You'd rather break than bend, but behind my back you're getting intimate with a student. Qin Guang, just you wait. I'll let you know the price. Back then, even if I was the one who did it, so what? I, Wang Ren, am still here. Who can do anything to me? Chapter 123. Qin Guang and Zhuo Jingxi were not in the mood to care what Fatty Wang wanted to do. As long as they did their job well, he could only disgust himself no matter how disgusting he was. An academic exchange with a well-known institution like MIT, even if the main object of the exchange was only the undergraduate students, the other party was only led by an associate professor. It was just a very informal exchange. After all, it was just a group of undergraduate students from both sides sitting together and chatting. There was no need to expect any great sparks of thought to collide. It was more like treating it as a high-level tea party. However, this was still a top priority for Qin Guang and the rest of the class. MIT's background was too big and too deceitful. There was no doubt that Qin Guang would be responsible for the main speaker and the main exchange. But in addition, he had to come up with a paper of sufficient value. At the very least, it had to be a summary article. When Zhuo Jingxi turned her head and looked at Qin Guang, he immediately shook his head like a rattle and repeatedly emphasized that he did not have the ability. The academic exchange was only 4 or 5 days away, and he still had to work hard to improve his professional English vocabulary. He did not have time to write a paper. Zhuo Jingxi thought this was reasonable, so she did not consider giving this task to Chen Guang. In the end, the task of writing the paper fell on the heads of a few girls led by Sun Xiaoxuan. There was no way around it. In the top student team there were more women than men. Just look at the leader of the male team, Master Guang. There was no need to say anything more. This matter was announced by Zhuo Jingxi directly to the class at the end of the second class in the morning. When everyone heard that they actually had the opportunity to have an academic exchange with students from a world-class institution like MIT, they were all excited. No one would have thought that this was actually Wang Ren's conspiracy and framing. Of course Zhuo Jingxi would not say it. She just happily arranged things step by step. After seeing Qin Guang's ability, Zhuo Jingxi was now at ease. As for letting Sun Xiaoxuan lead the female team to write the paper, there was no doubt about it. The results of the female top students were obvious to everyone. However, when Zhuo Jingxi announced the main speaker, everyone in the class was suddenly excited. It was because Teacher Zhuo's choice was too unexpected. It was actually Qin Guang. No matter what, no one could accept this cruel reality. Of course, it wasn't that Master Qin Guang's popularity in the class was bad. On the contrary, be it boys or girls, apart from Pan Zhang's group, most of them had a rather good relationship with Qin Guang himself. Now that Pan Zhang had disappeared from everyone's lives, the group of people who used to surround him naturally knew that they were not welcome. They were busy repairing their relationships with others, and would not take the initiative to find trouble with Qin Guang. So the question was, why was everyone so shocked and unable to accept it? Was there a need to ask? Of course, it was because Qin Guang's level 4-5 consecutive kneels were too domineering. It made one unable to look at him directly. To be honest, so far, Qin Guang was the only one in the class who hadn't passed level 4. Master Guang's journey to level 4 had become a legend in the class. Even Wenwen had given him that kind of reward. Qin Guang's reputation for his English level didn't need to be mentioned. Teacher Zhuo, Qin Guang I'm afraid he... Well, even Sun Xiaoxuan, who had secretly pledged her heart to Qin Guang, couldn't hold back. It wasn't that she wanted to do it herself, but she was purely worried for Qin Guang. She was afraid that he would embarrass himself in front of everyone. Sun Xiaoxuan thought that Teacher Zhuo was deliberately trying to punish Qin Guang, so she couldn't help but blame Teacher Zhuo in her heart. She felt that she had gone a little overboard. Qin Guang had only given up on the school sports meet. You didn't have to push him to the front of international friends to embarrass yourself. Moreover, if this matter were to blow up, it wouldn't be good for the school either. Zhuo Jingxi was also quite speechless at this moment. She recalled the instructions that Qin Guang had specially come back to tell her, and her face was full of bitter smiles. Why did this kid have so many wicked ideas? He said, for the time being, don't let others know that his English was no longer what it used to be, because once this news reached Wang Ren's ears, he was afraid that there would be unexpected complications. Zhuo Jingxi thought about it and it made sense. Wang Ren had been deliberately trying to punish her. Once he realized that his plot hadn't succeeded, who knew what else he would do? After all, as the Dean of Student Affairs, he had too much power in the school, especially when it came to student management. So she couldn't explain it now. She could only say to Sun Xiaoxuan, Xiaoxuan, he's fine. He's really fine. You just focus on your thesis and leave the rest to me and Qin Guang. On the other side, Gao Ye, Sun Xiaoxuan's best friend, jumped out to defend her. Teacher Zhuo, I don't know what you're thinking about this, but I really don't understand. Xiaoxuan's English level is obvious to all. Qin Guang's level? Okay, he's Xiaoxuan's sweetheart, so I can't say anything bad about him. Sun Xiaoxuan fiercely poked Gao Ye's waist. Gao Ye, what nonsense are you talking about? Gao Ye chuckled and moved to the side. When Sun Xiaoxuan stopped making a fuss, she continued to come over and say, Teacher Zhuo, really, let Xiaoxuan go. We can't drop the ball in front of our international friends. Sun Xiaoxuan thought for a moment, then frowned and said, Gao Ye, don't think things are so simple. Presenting the thesis is one thing. I might be able to manage this, but the other party must have prepared a thesis as well. After the presentation, everyone will have to sit down and talk. I can't do this well. I really can't. My English isn't good enough when it comes to adapting. I'll definitely stutter. Gao Ye knew Sun Xiaoxuan's level very well, so she knew that she wasn't being modest on purpose. She frowned and didn't know what to say. The rest of the class was also in an uproar, whispering non-stop. Obviously, no one was mentally prepared for Zhuo Jingxi's abrupt decision. As for Qin Guang himself, sitting next to his three grandsons by Nyangzi, Lin Jingwei and Xiong'er, he was treated with even more disdain. When it came to their own family, they hated him even more than others. This was really stabbing a knife into Qin Guang's heart. This was especially true for Whitesnake. His poisonous tongue was like a crane's crown as he spoke. Everything he spat out was a killing weapon. I say, Brother Guang, we're brothers. How badly did you offend Teacher Zhuo for her to send you to the gallows like this? Killing your father and stealing your wife, it's nothing more than this, right? You should know that you're facing a top student from MIT, not a 2-year-old kid who only knows how to say is am and I. To be honest, with my many years of experience as by fan of Jinhuan Yiji Mei, Brother Guang, with your ability at most you can chat with third-grade American students, and that's only at the level of introducing your name. Lin Jingwei, who was at the side, only added, Brother Guang, I helped you revise the paper you did a few days ago. I marked the correct answers for every question and wrote in Chinese why you chose them. Go back and take a good look. And on your paper, I drew red crosses for you using tiny characters. It's too conspicuous and I'm afraid it'll hurt your self-esteem. Don't ask me why it's every question. Xiong Jinka huffed and puffed for a long time. To be honest, Brother Guang, if something happens to you, don't take it too hard. If you jump off the building, my dragon elephant prajna art hasn't been perfected yet, so I won't be able to catch you. Qin Guang felt suffocated. F***ck, your stabbing skills, why the hell did I unknowingly evolve to such a terrifying level? Chapter 124. Foolish mortals. Since you guys are heartless, don't blame me for being heartless. Did they really think that Qin Guang had made Zhuo Jingxi keep it a secret because he had such long-term considerations as he said? Of course not. Hiding it from Fatty Wong was just in passing. Qin Guang's real target wasn't Fatty Wong, but these demon-like students who kept jumping around him. Fatty Wong was just a pitiful cover. My real target was you guys. Bai Nyangzi, right? Kaki, right? Little Linzi, right? Lin Pingji, right? Xiong'er, right? Second, right? I'll let you guys be cocky for now. I'll hide it from you guys first, then I'll scare you guys. When you guys see the old man's true strength, then all of you will obediently offer your knees. I want a 10-year-old knee. No additives. Faced with these people stabbing him one by one, Qin Guang only put on a mysterious smile and said nothing. You guys don't understand? Then he kept reminding himself to calm down. I must calm down. I must not punch Bai Nyangzi's face, tear his mouth apart and pull out his tongue. Oh my, I'm thinking too far. Stop. You don't understand my ass. Hurry up and find Teacher Zhuo to get rid of this matter. We're doing this for your own good. Bai Nyangzi was already taking advantage of them. Lin Jingwei even walked over to Zhuo Jingxi, planning to speak on behalf of Qin Guang. Damn it. Our friendship is over. From now on, I can't be friends with you guys anymore. I've become Lioli's savior, this heaven-defying main character identity. From now on, I'm destined to live a lonely and invincible life. Qin Guang gritted his teeth in hatred. He spent a lot of effort to control these three good-for-nothings who were focused on making their teammates miserable. I'll tell the three of you. All of you sit down obediently. Don't say another word of nonsense or don't blame me for turning against you. Qin Guang was domineering. Are you going to fall out with me? Very arrogant, right? Qin Guang's domineering CEO posture didn't last more than 5 seconds before he was brutally suppressed by his three grandsons. However, seeing that Qin Guang had made up his mind, the three of them stopped making a fuss. They looked at Qin Guang as if he was an idiot, looking at him as if he was a hopeless fool. Qin Guang was furious and gnashed his teeth. Did he really think that his 20 years of focus on face-slapping was for nothing? All of you, just you wait. When the day comes, I will definitely repay the contempt you have given me by 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, pretending to be pretentious and slapping people's faces, I was born with this skill. If you provoke me, I'll beat anyone and I'll beat my own people to death. Swollen. Smash. I will endure, I must endure. Michelangelo, Raphael, Da Vinci and someone else. At this moment, he was possessed by the divine tortoise. What the old man pursued was the terrifying pleasure that would erupt after the most intense suppression. Finally, the matter of the speaker being Qin Guang, Zhuo Jingxi withstood the immense pressure and Qin Guang himself withstood all sorts of doubtful gazes, but he still managed to overcome all the difficulties and dangers to settle this matter. In the midst of this, there were people who suspected that Zhuo Jingxi wanted to punish Qin Guang. Chen Guang had to personally go on stage to express his stance before he helped Zhuo Jingxi clear up the misunderstanding. Fortunately, this person was Chen Guang. If it was someone with poor social relations, this matter would definitely have been blown up to the heavens. Zhuo Jingxi let out a long sigh of relief. When no one was looking, she secretly glared at Chen Guang, then turned to the other students and said, "Then this matter is decided. Everyone go back and prepare well. In 4 days we will face MIT." When she finished speaking, she swiftly left. It was too strenuous for her to stay in this atmosphere, so she left the rest to Chen Guang to deal with. After Zhuo Jingxi left, the other boys and girls in the class finally could not hold it in any longer. They all came forward to comfort Chen Guang. It was also because these people were more restrained and not as unrestrained as Bai Nyangzi and the other 3 goods. Otherwise, Chen Guang would really have been forced to speak in a medieval gentleman's accent in front of everyone. But in the end he still held it in. That's right, the most important of the 3 essentials of face slapping was that one must not be impatient. Like a spring, one must let it collapse to its tightest and then explode with a whoosh. Only then would there be the most intense pleasure. The humiliation, now was all for the future eruption. You guys are still so shabby. Take out your clothes. How can ordinary people like you understand this elder brother's realm? My English is something that you can only look up to, something that can only be seen but not reached. I'm not saying it now because I don't want to scare you to death. I'll let you live for a few more days. Later, I'll let you have a taste of the old man's face-slapping skills in front of everyone. If I really want a face slap, I won't even let myself go. I have a special face-slapping skill. After a long commotion, only Sun Xiaoxuan, Gao Ye, and Bai Nyangzi remained. Sun Xiaoxuan came to Chen Guang with a frown. He looked at him worriedly and asked, "Is it really going to be okay?" Chen Guang fiercely patted his chest, which sounded like a drum. "Of course it's going to be okay. You just need to prepare your thesis. Leave the rest to me. I promise to complete the mission." Gao Ye couldn't help but laugh. "I really don't know where you get your confidence from. If it weren't for your handsome face, I would have thought that you were swapped. Anyway, in the next few days you can make up as much as you can. Our Xiaoxuan has to write his thesis, so he can't help you." Lin Jingwei suddenly poked his head out from the side and pointed at his own face. "Really? Who's more handsome, me or Brother Guang?" Gao Ye glared at him. "What do you think? Do you need to ask?" Lin Jingwei had made a big fool of himself. He scowled miserably and went to the side to lick his wounds. His heart, liver, spleen and kidneys all hurt. Sun Xiaoxuan could only sigh in the end. She also felt that it was strange. If it had been someone else, they might not have believed that Chen Guang could do it. But just now, when she saw Chen Guang's confident expression, she actually felt that he could do it. The Chen Guang she knew had never disappointed her. When the 2 sides separated, Sun Xiaoxuan suddenly remembered what Gao Ye had said. She scolded, "Gao Ye, how could you say that in front of Mr. Zhua? What do you mean by Chen Guang is my sweetheart?" Gao Ye chuckled. "Xiaoxuan, you don't understand. I'm helping you." Sun Xiaoxuan was even more confused. "What are you helping me with? Although we're university students now, it's not good to say that in front of a teacher, right?" Gao Ye didn't explain further to her. Instead, she put on an unfathomable look. She thought to herself, "Xiaoxuan, as your sister, I'm really trying my best to help you. But in the end, you still have to fight for these things yourself. You can't see clearly because you're closely involved, but as a bystander, I can see clearly." Although she didn't know what had happened between Chen Guang and Mr. Zhuo that morning, there was something wrong with the relationship between the 2 of them. It was definitely not a simple teacher-student relationship. Chapter 125. The farce that happened in the Department of Environmental Science reached Wang Ren's ears that afternoon. Chen Guang hid it from everyone, and Wang Ren fell for it without hesitation. Lying on the leather swivel chair, Wang Ren took a deep drag on his cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. He muttered, "Interesting, this Zhuo Jingxi is really interesting. Are you purposely throwing caution to the wind? They actually arranged for a student who was famous in the academy for 5 consecutive kneels in the 4th level to be the main speaker? Letting that useless student be the main speaker?" Thinking of the arrogant and despotic student that day, Wang Ren gritted his teeth in hatred. After asking around, he found out that this guy was indeed famous in the school. First, he was a LV4 student. Second, Chen Guang even beat up another rich kid that Wang Ren knew, Pan Jiang, and sent him to the hospital a few days ago. Unfortunately, the matter was over and Pan Jiang's family did not make a fuss. Otherwise, he would immediately kick that kid out of the school just because of this. He just did not understand why Pan Zhang's family was so powerful, but there was no movement after the matter. Instead, Pan Zhang himself even dropped out of school. Wang Ren only guessed and suspected for a moment. He was worried that Qin Guang was so arrogant that he might have a backer behind him. Later he found out that not only did this Qin Guang not have a backer, but he also often ran online rentals to support his family. He was definitely a poor kid, so he completely let his guard down. You're not joking, are you? You want to turn this into a farce so that I, Wang Ren, can't find a way out? You want to disgust me? Don't mess around. How can I be hurt because of such a small matter? The one who will be unlucky is you, Zhu Jingxi. How can you be so naive? And Qin Guang, who gave you the courage to talk back to me so unscrupulously? Do you really think that I, Wang Ren, the Dean of Student Affairs, can't do anything to you? I have 10,000 ways to make you regret what you did. Wang Ren couldn't help but feel smug. Previously he was worried that Zhu Jingxi was a stubborn person who wouldn't budge under the carrot or the stick. That was why he came up with this plan. He wanted to let her know how powerful he was and let her understand that in this academy he, Wang Ren, had more power than Zhu Jingxi could imagine. This was only the first step in Wang Ren's series of actions. Now, she was digging her own grave by letting a person who didn't understand English go up and embarrass herself. She was dead meat. Just to my liking. As long as Zhu Jingxi made a major mistake in receiving the MIT academic exchange team, then he would use this matter to force Zhu Jingxi into a corner step by step. At that time she would only have two choices: scram or submit. For a young woman who wanted to make a name for herself, this was a painful and helpless choice. In fact, your family's affairs left you with no choice at all, right? Zhu Jingxi, you're already mine. In the next few days, all the students in the environmental science department entered a state of working around the clock. When there was a class, of course they would go to class. When there was no class, the female geniuses would gather together and work hard on their thesis. Girls always liked to group together. Even girls with relatively average grades were pulled together. They couldn't embarrass themselves. No matter how unreliable the main speaker was, the girls had to hold back their anger. They couldn't let anything go wrong with their thesis. As for the other boys, although they were not clearly assigned tasks, they didn't want to let go of this rare opportunity to get closer to the girls. Otherwise, would they really be single for the rest of their lives? They were about to graduate, but there were still so many bachelors in the class. Everyone was anxious. The other faculties in the academy, especially the hungry wolves of the civil engineering faculty, are eyeing the 15 golden flowers of the environmental science faculty covetously. They are absolutely irreconcilable. They couldn't let the fertile water flow into the fields of outsiders. They had to fight for their dignity. Therefore, as long as they said that they were preparing a thesis, regardless of whether it was a boy or a girl, they would swarm together. They could only hate the fact that they couldn't follow them into the girls' dorms at night and continue to fight under the lights. Those who needed to prepare the materials prepared the materials, and those who needed to write a chapter wrote a chapter. The atmosphere made people think that they had mistakenly entered the Princeton Research Institute. Well, only the high hopes of the main speaker, Qin Guang, started to appear and disappear mysteriously. He didn't see anyone during class or after class. If it weren't for the fact that his phone was still working, everyone in the class would have thought that this kid was hiding in Thailand. When Qin Guang came back at night, Bai Nyangzi and the others took turns to interrogate him. "Brother Guang, where have you been all day? How can we feel at ease when you're not around?" Lin Jingwei was especially attentive to this matter. It was as if he had become the dog skin plaster that stuck to Gao Ye's back, and also the eyes and ears of the girls. Qin Guang smiled mysteriously and said, "I'm going to prepare some words. Do you guys believe me?" "Believe my A**. My dear brother, tell me, what are you planning to do? How about you let one of us follow you? The way you are now, we are all panicking to death. We feel like the sky is falling." Lin Jingwei desperately shook Qin Guang's shoulders. Qin Guang made up his mind to hide it from these people. In the end, he really didn't lie. He didn't even go to a sports car recently. He really hid in the woods behind his dorm and read the English dictionary. Of course, he remembered that he was a driving god who made 100,000 yuan a day. Time was tight, so he wasn't interested in sports cars. Of course, he was hiding it because he didn't want these people to hear his shocking top-notch spoken English in advance. In order to deliberately hide it, he didn't even speak a word of English when he returned to the dormitory. Even his catchphrase from watching Dota 2 was translated into Chinese, "Monkey sh*t. You guys don't have to be nervous. I'm working very hard in places that you guys can't see. No. Xiong'er will follow you for the whole day tomorrow. I want to see what you're doing. Lin Jingwei didn't give up. Bai Nyangzi was also huffing and puffing. Yeah. I'll keep an eye on you. Let's see where you can run to. I think you're definitely going to a sports car. Or you're having an affair with one university's campus belle. Qin Guang chuckled. He thought to himself, the one I need to hide the most about my English is Wenwen. Otherwise, when the time comes, how am I going to get her to honor the bet? Don't worry. If I play games these few days, I'll chop off my hand. How about it? Also, Xiong, don't even think about following me unless you go to a variety show. Huh? You're going to a variety show? Are you going to enter the showbiz industry? You're abandoning us just like that? The three of them were shocked. Qin Guang grunted, Son, if you participate in Where Daddy Goes, you'll be able to find me. Let's give him a taste of our newly improved Aruba killer move. Chapter 126. No one knew what's going on with Qin Guang and no one could do anything to him. After all, everyone knew that he was famous for being unafraid of anything, and his skin was thicker than a city wall. However, the arrival of the MIT people was getting closer and closer, and the preparation for the thesis was getting more intense. No one had the time or energy to pay attention to the shameless presenter. In any case, everyone was holding in their anger. No matter how ridiculous the situation was, it could only be the fault of the speaker. Our thesis must be of a high class and elegant quality. We're worthy of MIT's guests, and we're worthy of Gokyo University's status as one of the top 10 comprehensive universities in the country. In the blink of an eye, it was the first day of the academic exchange. Sun Xiaoxuan began to panic, his heart burning with impatience. There was no other reason. Originally, she planned to take out the thesis in advance and even personally edit it into an English version. Then she would drag Qin Guang to practice. However, the final draft had yet to be completed. There was still a lot of editing to be done. Who knew if there was a logical problem? She would have to revise it, let alone translate it into an English version and practice with Qin Guang. She couldn't be blamed. Everyone was too focused on perfection and the preparation time was too tight. It was only a short 4 days. On the first day they came up with the idea. On the second day they finalized the outline and started writing. On the third day they were halfway through. Today was the last day, but they didn't even have the first draft. It was because everyone set their goals too high from the beginning. They made the topic too big. They used the school's previous SCI papers as a self-assessment standard. Those were all doctoral students who spent more than half a year to write. No matter how good Sun Xiaoxuan's group was, they were still a group of third-year undergraduate students. They only had 4 days left. But even though he was so anxious that tears were welling up in his eyes, Sun Xiaoxuan didn't complain, nor did he reveal the slightest bit of impatience in front of others. On the contrary, he methodically pushed everything forward step by step. After all, she just wanted to take out the draft in advance so that Qin Guang could practice. What she was most afraid of was actually Qin Guang making a fool of himself. That night, Sun Xiaoxuan and a group of girls worked in Zhuo Jingxi's office until 4 in the morning. Holding the heavy paper, Sun Xiaoxuan and the others felt extremely complicated. In the short 8 hours since the first draft was completed in the afternoon, everyone had changed the draft 3 times and had changed more than 2,000 words. At first, the boys were still able to help, but when it came to the final fine-tuning, the boys were powerless. At around 11 o'clock, Lin Jingwei became the last boy to stay. He left because he couldn't help much. It wasn't easy. At this time, the girls looked at each other and felt the urge to cry, but in the end, everyone held back. Ever since they entered the university, this was the first time that the whole class was so united and focused on the same thing. Fortunately, it was done at the last moment. Although this paper hadn't been submitted yet, and everyone wasn't sure how many SCI impact factors it would get, it definitely wouldn't be too bad. One had to know that this was written by a group of third-year undergraduate students. This was already an incredible thing. However, Sun Xiaoxuan couldn't relax at all. What was waiting for them was the academic conference tomorrow. At that time, it would be the real time to present this paper. However, it was already too late now. Forget about calling Qin Guang to practice in advance, they didn't even have time to translate. This was only the Chinese version of the final draft. There was still a long way to go before it could be translated into English and reach a standard that could be published or given a speech. A professional Chinese to English translation was not an easy task. This meant that what awaited them the next day would be a complete failure, no matter how well written the thesis was. Everyone couldn't help but imagine the scene of Qin Guang standing on the podium, looking at the paper and being speechless and unable to say a word. The scene was too beautiful and they couldn't look at it directly. When they thought about it, it was simply depressing and depressing. Xiaoxuan, what kind of sh*t is this? I really don't know what Teacher Zhuo is thinking. Why did he insist on letting Qin Guang do it? Isn't this a waste of our efforts? Gaoya still had a bad temper. Only with her relationship with Sun Xiaoxuan did she not have to worry about Sun Xiaoxuan getting angry. Sun Xiaoxuan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Gaoya, don't blame Teacher Zhuo. Qin Guang didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they really did have a special consideration. Gaoya was furious. What do you mean Qin Guang didn't do anything wrong? Take a look at what he has been doing for the past few days. Lin Jingwei told me that the few of them haven't seen Qin Guang practicing his spoken English. It's so much so that they haven't seen him since dawn. They don't even know where Qin Guang went, let alone the others. What is this? What is this? Sun Xiaoxuan sighed. Let's not talk about Qin Guang. Even we don't have the ability to read the original Chinese manuscript in English in front of the MIT students. I can't do it, I really can't. The other girls also sighed, knowing that Sun Xiaoxuan was right. But to translate this article into a standard English version, we might not even be able to finish it in 2 or 3 days. After all, we're not very good at English grammar yet. Sigh. Gaoya also thought the same. Just then the sound of keys came from the office door. It was Zhuo Jingxi who had brought supper. As soon as she entered she said, "Everyone must be tired, right? Come and have some supper." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw Sun Xiaoxuan holding the manuscript in his hands. She was overjoyed and walked over to pick up the manuscript. She then told the girls to quickly eat something to fill their stomachs. After everyone finished eating, Zhuo Jingxi glanced through the outline of the thesis. She was pleasantly surprised. Even as a PhD student, she felt that the quality of the thesis was very high. Not bad. Thank you for your hard work. Zhuo Jingxi said happily. Gaoya said, Teacher Zhuo, our thesis barely passed, but who's going to read it tomorrow? And this is the original Chinese version. Zhuo Jingxi was stunned. She had just realized this problem and her heart skipped a beat. She wanted Qin Guang to read the Chinese version in English on the spot? Could he do it? Why don't you all go back to sleep first? I'll see if I can translate the thesis into English overnight. Zhuo Jingxi had no other ideas, so she could only bite the bullet and try. But there are more than 6,000 words here, Gaoya said. Zhuo Jingxi's heart skipped a beat. She slowly put down the manuscript and calculated the time. It's 4:30 a.m. now, and the exchange meeting is at 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. There's only 4.5 hours left. Chapter 127. Sun Xiaoxuan clenched his teeth. It's all my fault. I should have prepared earlier and let everyone translate it into English while I wrote it in Chinese. Zhuo Jingxi patted the back of Sun Xiaoxuan's hand. Xiaoxuan, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. Besides, the Chinese version hasn't been finalized yet. Who knows what will be changed or how? We can't do the English translation. There's no way to change the order. But what do we do now? Sun Xiaoxuan and the others looked at Zhuo Jingxi with blank eyes. Looking at the girl's empty eyes, Zhuo Jingxi felt bad and sighed heavily. Now that it's come to this, we can only bite the bullet and believe in Qin Guang. At this time, I don't want to hide it from you anymore. Qin Guang's English is better than you think. I've never seen a college student with a more authentic spoken language. Maybe he can do it. You should go back to your dorms and rest. It's too late now. I'll come to the girls' dorms tomorrow morning to wake you up. Sorry for the hard work. What? The girls didn't pay attention to the second half of Zhuo Jingxi's words. They were shocked by the first half. Did we hear it wrong? This is the worst joke of the year? Qin Guang's English is good and his spoken language is authentic? Teacher Zhuo, I can't believe your lies to comfort people at all. Teacher Zhuo, how long have you known him? Less than 2 weeks? How long have we known him? 3 years. How can we not know what his level is? Even Sun Xiaoxuan, a Qin Kan and Qin Gaffa, couldn't help but blush and feel ashamed after hearing this kind of nonsense. Teacher Zhuo, your level of lying with your eyes wide open, I can't do it. Forget it, I'll just treat it as a joke. The girls could only pinch their noses and believe it. They really didn't have a second choice. Even if they felt that Teacher Zhuo must have been drugged to say such nonsense, they could only accept it. There really wasn't enough time. The next day, almost everyone in the environmental sciences class woke up early. Even Sun Xiaoxuan and the other top students, who had stayed up until almost 5 in the morning, opened their eyes at 7 in the morning. There was no need for Zhuo Jingxi to wake them up. There were too many things weighing on people's hearts. Even if they were extremely tired, it was still difficult for them to fall asleep. Moreover, these were little girls who had yet to experience society. Their temperaments were not that steady. After returning to the dormitory, these poor girls tossed and turned on their beds, unable to fall asleep. Their minds kept thinking about what would happen the next morning, as if they were having a nightmare. In the end, it was equivalent to them taking a nap for more than 2 hours. Although everyone knew that it wasn't good for their skin, the last hurdle was right in front of them. They could only grit their teeth and endure it. Even if it was embarrassing, he had to accept it. After all, it wasn't as if the sky would collapse. The other boys weren't much better. When they thought of their future wives being tortured by the academic exchange, their hearts ached. Well, even though they didn't know which girl was their future wife, it wasn't important. Anyway, they had to hurt their hearts first. If they cast a wide net to catch a few more fish at once, they would definitely be able to hit one. Only old Master Chen Guang seemed to be in a very stable mood. He ate well and slept well. He opened his eyes at dawn. However, the moment he opened his eyes, he realized that something was wrong. Lin Jingwei's 3 grandsons actually tied him up while he was asleep. If you tied me up, then so be it, but why did you have to tie me up so tightly? So shameful. Also, what was the meaning of those 2 ropes that went from my crotch all the way to my shoulders? Everyone, please listen to me. There's something this old man doesn't understand. Why am I tied up like a dumpling by all of you? And it's even a dumpling with meat filling. It's the kind of dumpling that can't pass the trial. I can't accept this humiliation. Lin Jingwei pounced on him fiercely. Brother Guang, don't blame us for being merciless. There are only 2 hours left until the academic exchange. Gao Ye and the others worked until 5 last night before they finally finished the thesis. No matter what, we can't let you get away this morning. Bai Nyangzi nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice. That's right. That's why we have to tie you up and escort you to the academic building. We have to at least let you read the thesis before the people from MIT arrive. Xiong Jinka stood below and did not say anything. He took out a pole out of nowhere. It was obvious that the 3 of them wanted to use the pole to carry Qin Guang over. F***CK. That's enough. Bai Nyangzi, did you come up with this binding art? Qin Guang forced himself to do a sit-up and sat up straight. He looked down and was instantly embarrassed. The level of this art of binding could not be achieved without 10 years of painstaking research. Bai Nyangzi blushed slightly. Yes. How is it? Not bad, right? I'm not bad, you old ancestor. Have you been watching too many movies about Billy King recently? Your shameful bondage technique is simply at your fingertips. Don't tell me you guys really want me to go to the classroom in my underwear and a towel? Untie me. I'll beat you all to death. After about a minute, Qin Guang finally regained his freedom. He had just put on the t-shirt when he felt a chill on his arm. He poked his head out and saw that Lin Jingwei had taken out a prop handcuff and was handcuffing himself and Qin Guang at the same time. Brother Guang, don't look at me like you want to eat me alive. I haven't showered in a few days. Now that things have come to this, as your life and death friend, I will definitely not let you have any chance to escape at the last minute. Anyway, if it were someone else, they would also end up in the dark. After thinking about it, as a family we should send you to the execution ground. That would be more worthy of the hard work of the others. We won't say a word about righteousness before family. Anyway, let's hurry and meet up with class rep Sun and the others. Teacher Zhuo arrived early in the morning. Time is of the essence. Lin Jingwei said with a resolute tone. Qin Guang's face darkened. No wonder these scumbags were guarding against him like a thief early in the morning. They were afraid that he would run away. What kind of person do you think I am? I, Qin Guang, am a responsible person. I dare to do what I do. My words carry enormous weight. I told you to leave this matter to me and I will definitely do it well. Can you not give me this kind of bullsh*t situation? Bai Nyangzi grabbed Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei's hands, which were handcuffed together, and raised them to the sky. Oh yeah. Congratulations to Qin Guang for winning this year's international lying contest. He only said one sentence. Get lost. Don't touch my right hand. I'm a wounded person. No matter how uncertain everyone was, 10 minutes later, Qin Guang and the others finally stood in the classroom of the school building. Lin Jingwei was still handcuffed to him, but Xiong didn't follow. He went to buy breakfast for everyone. Chapter 128. At that moment, Gaoya looked at Qin Guang with an unfriendly expression. Even though she knew that it would put her best friend, Sun Xiaoxuan, in a difficult position, she couldn't force a sincere smile. The other girls were more restrained than Gaoya, but they all had dark circles under their eyes. They looked tired, sleepy and disappointed, and they couldn't even lift their spirits. Although Zhuo Jingxi was confident in her heart, that was in the past. Now that she was looking at this high-quality Chinese thesis, she was no longer confident. An undergraduate student had less than 2 hours to prepare, and he had to take a Chinese paper to an academic exchange with a guest from MIT. Just thinking about it made one's scalp go numb. It was like a fantasy. No matter how good Qin Guang's spoken English was, Zhuo Jingxi couldn't forget the look on his face that day when he was confused by the long list of professional terms. However, she also knew that Qin Guang hadn't been idle these past few days. Others might have no idea where Qin Guang was hiding, but Zhuo Jingxi would help him change his bandages every day. She would also ask about his progress every day, and she even tested him a few times. His professional English had truly improved swiftly. "It's all my fault." Sun Xiaoxuan was still blaming himself. "I was too slow and wasted everyone's time. I apologize." As she spoke, tears began to roll down her cheeks again. Seeing this scene, Qin Guang immediately cried out, "Oh, my little Xuan, my squad monitor's son. Don't cry. This isn't the end of the line yet. Didn't you guys get the paper out? In short, leave the rest to me." Sun Xiaoxuan's heart almost stopped when he heard Qin Guang call him Little Sunday. He smiled through his tears and patted Qin Guang's chest. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Gaoya, who was watching from the side, rolled her eyes. She thought to herself, "My sister, you two are in public and at such a critical moment. Can't you be more serious? Xiaoxuan, did you give Qin Guang a whole pot of magic potion? You were still crying a second ago, but in the blink of an eye, you've entered the state of a shy young lady? All right, Qin Guang. Although I don't know where you got your confidence from, and we don't know what level you're at right now, since things have already come to this point, we won't have much hope even if it's us. In any case, do your best." Gaoya represented the other girls and expressed their stance. "Let's try everything we can. According to the theory of negative and negative is positive, dying twice in a row might really bring us back to life." Looking at Sun Xiaoxuan and Qin Guang's actions, Zhuo Jingxi's eyes flashed with a profound light. However, she did not say anything else. She handed the paper to Qin Guang and said, "Qin Guang, take a look at this paper first. Time is tight and there's no time for you to practice." "All right. You guys hurry up and take a good rest on the table. At least get rid of the dark circles on your eyes. Otherwise, when you meet your international friends later, they will think that our country is suffering from famine. Anyway, I'll give you guys a hint. Today is the day that I, the 4th level and 5th level, lose to Qin Guang and make a comeback. All you have to do is hold your breath. Next, it's time to witness a miracle. Brothers and sisters, please trust me this once. I won't say anything more than that. I can only tell you that if I screw this up, God will punish me to be a bachelor for the rest of my life. That's a vicious oath, isn't it?" At this moment, Qin Guang felt that it's about time for him to hide it. He initially wanted to keep it a secret, but he couldn't help feeling apologetic when he saw how these people were crying and losing their confidence. It was time to give everyone a little bit of hope, to let them know that believing in Brother Guang wasn't a mistake. Qin Guang's resolute words stunned everyone. Even though many of them thought that he was joking, they couldn't deny the sincerity on his face. His image was too brilliant and convincing. They couldn't help but believe it. Brother Guang. Really? Lin Jingwei tilted his head and looked at Qin Guang with a look of disbelief. Qin Guang nodded heavily. Of course. All right. Brothers, we believe in you. In an instant, the atmosphere in the classroom was filled with confidence. Everyone's fighting spirit was actually roused. Go. Go Qin Guang. Gaoya seemed to have a screw loose in her brain as she clenched her fists and shouted. The others did the same. The cheers in the classroom rose and fell one after another. Qin Guang was touched. "Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your trust. I won't let you down. Believe in me." He was about to grab his notebook. His right hand was injured, so he raised his left hand. "Shaolin, can you uncuff me first? How am I supposed to prepare like this?" Lin Jingwei nodded heavily. At this moment, everyone was no longer worried that he would run away. "Oh my God. I dropped the key. You're a fool who can't do anything right." Because Lin Jingwei had made a rare mistake, he had wasted another 10 minutes of precious time. There was no way he could find the key, and he wasn't Zhang Shichao anyway. Luckily, these were prop handcuffs. The material and workmanship were not that exquisite. Xiong'er, who had brought lunch, picked up a pebble by Yuanming Lake and broke the thin, inferior metal chain in the middle. The remaining half of the chain looked like a bracelet, but it was rather shabby. In the end, Qin Guang did not prepare in front of everyone. Instead, he took the paper, the professional English dictionary, and the pink, heart-shaped electronic dictionary that Sun Xiaoxuan gave him. He ran to Yuanming Lake alone. He had already kept it a secret until now, so Qin Guang felt that he could not let it go to waste. There was also another risk. Although what he had said just now was very high and mighty, there was actually nothing substantial at all. But if that group of people found out before the official academic exchange that he really did have that ability, and that he was just pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, then he would be beaten black and blue on the spot by that group of people. For the sake of personal safety, he should maintain the mystery until the very last moment. When the matter was settled, he would tell the truth in the name of hiding it from Fatty Wang. Then he would tell everyone about Fatty Wang's real conspiracy. Needless to say, Fatty Wang would be the scapegoat no matter what. Sitting alone on a chair by Yuanming Lake, Qin Guang carefully scanned the valuable paper. Whenever he found unfamiliar professional terms, he would immediately take notes in a small notebook next to him. His bandaged hand was still in pain from pulling the wound, but he had completely forgotten about it. He had really worked hard these past few days. He had almost gone through the thick stack of professional English vocabulary. Now he was sharpening his gun at the last minute. He picked out all the words that might cause him to screw up in order to memorize them. It could be said that they were well prepared. After he was done, he looked at the time. Oh, it was almost 8:30 p.m. He counted the unfamiliar terms in the notebook. There were not many, only around 30 or 40 words. This was a small case. After going through everything in his mind, Qin Guang stood up. It was time. F** King MIT. F** King Fatty Wang. I'm going to kneel. Chapter 129. The venue for the academic exchange was in the second conference room of the college building. There were no banners or red lanterns. After all, the other party was just an associate professor leading a group of undergraduate students. It was not that high of a standard. Even if you are from MIT in the eyes of ordinary students, but in the eyes of the leadership of Gokyo University, we will send people of the same level to receive the other party. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology is very impressive, but our Wujing University is also one of the top universities in the country. We can't prepare too much for an associate professor and ruin the reputation of our Wuxia University. Therefore, they directly sent Wang Ren, an administrative staff of the college, and Zhuo Jingxi, an undergraduate counselor, to be responsible for the reception. It was almost official enough. Of course, the graduate school should at least show up, but this time wasn't it Wang Ren who played a trick? However, this was not the effect that Wang Ren wanted to achieve. After spending a little effort, he actually managed to pull a vice president of the academy to the meeting. To put it nicely, he said that the leader would be personally present to boost the confidence of the young employees who had just started working not long ago. Of course, the deputy dean would not easily believe Fatty Wang's nonsense, but he really did not have anything else to do today. Wang Ren was also very respectful to him in the past. Although he felt that this guy was guilty, it was really difficult to refuse his hospitality, so he really followed him. When he entered the door, he even gave Zhuo Jingxi a few words of encouragement, then sat down on the deputy chair of the conference room, as if he really wanted to support Zhuo Jingxi. How could Zhuo Jingxi not understand Fatty Wang's cunning mind? Wasn't he hoping that she would fall a little harder this time? Teacher Zhuo, how is it? When are they coming? Qin Guang entered the conference room at about 8:45. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Fatty Wang and the deputy dean. He had some impression of sitting next to the chair. He frowned slightly but ignored Fatty Wang. Instead, he pulled Zhuo Jingxi and asked. Zhuo Jingxi looked at her watch. I just contacted Associate Professor Schmidt. They will arrive at 9 sharp. When did these two grandsons come? Qin Guang quietly pointed at Fatty Wang and the deputy dean next to him. Zhuo Jingxi rolled her eyes at him. What are you talking about? Don't talk about Director Han like that. Qin Guang snorted. Being so close to Fatty Wang, they must be jackals of the same lair. How can they be anything good? Wasn't their purpose for coming here simple enough? Aren't they just waiting to see us embarrass ourselves? Don't worry about them. If you're afraid of being affected, go to my office and rest. I'll get someone to call you over. I'll wait outside the academy building first. Forget it, I'll go help. Qin Guang shook his head and refused. Instead, he helped Sun Xiaoxuan by placing bottles of mineral water in every corner of the conference room. This squad leader Sun really had a tiring life. The circles under his eyes were so dark that ink could be squeezed out, but he was still stubbornly holding on. It was 9 o'clock sharp, and the teachers and students of MIT, led by Schmidt, appeared outside the school building on time, neither too early nor too late. Zhuo Jingxi, who had been waiting here for a long time, immediately walked up and chatted with Professor Schmidt. The other party seemed to know Chinese etiquette very well. He didn't make any awkward gestures like hugging first when they met. He just shook hands with Zhuo Jingxi. Behind Schmidt were about a dozen young students, both male and female. They looked no different from the Chinese with noses and eyes. Zhuo Jingxi led them all the way inside and into the conference room. Wang Ren and Deputy Director Han stood up together and represented the academy to have a warm conversation with Schmidt as a form of welcome. As the student representative, Chen Guang was not in a hurry to be pushed to the front stage. It was Associate Professor Schmidt who went up to the podium and roughly explained the purpose of his team this time. Brother Guang, to be honest, I'm a little disappointed. Bai Nyangzi secretly looked at the group of foreign top students. He hid his hand under the table and pulled on Chen Guang's clothes. Chen Guang stepped on his foot and said, "Don't King interrupt my thoughts. I'm busy." Bai Nyangzi turned his head back with a disappointed face. He had a lot of thoughts but no one to share them with. "What are you disappointed about?" Although he didn't want to admit it, Chen Guang was indeed interested. Bai Nyangzi immediately became energetic and said, "I thought the top students from MIT looked scary. Now that I see them, they don't seem to be that big of a deal." Chen Guang rolled his eyes. He thought that this guy really had something to say, but he didn't expect him to talk nonsense. "What else? What do you think it should be? Did the people from MIT have to be monsters with 3 heads, 6 arms and 8 eyes? We're university students of the new era. Can't we have normal brain circuits?" Chen Guang and Bai Nyangzi were talking softly, but Associate Professor Schmidt didn't notice them. He was in high spirits as he introduced the purpose of his visit today. He took this group of students across the ocean to Gokyo University, with the aim of promoting cultural exchanges between the two schools. Gokyo University was one of the first schools in China that specialized in environmental science. It was a pioneer in this field in China. As a scientific research institution that pursued the true meaning of science, MIT also attached great importance to the teaching and research of environmental protection. Therefore, they hoped to learn from the teachers and students of Wuxia University to further understand the teaching and research situation of environmental protection in China. At the same time, he also wanted this group of undergraduate students to study under him in one of the most polluted countries in the world. Other than that, he also hoped to get to know the students of Gokyo University better. On behalf of MIT, he also welcomed the undergraduate students to the United States to apply for their master's degree. All in all, it was just a high-sounding speech, but it was all true. It didn't take him more than half an hour to clearly explain the purpose of his trip. The others might be a little confused. After all, Associate Professor Schmidt spoke too fast. However, Chen Guang understood every word. He couldn't help but secretly pout. "Friend, why do you sound a little strange? Why did you have to carry a gun and a stick out of nowhere? What do you mean by one of the most polluted countries in the world? Aren't you slapping us in the face? Although we can't deny it, we can't let a foreigner like you say it out loud, right? Also, why do I feel that you're arrogant in your words? Yes, MIT is great and impressive, but what I hear from you is that you're a superior inspecting your subordinates to see how they're doing. Don't look down on us." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.